Okay, I started back. Information Man is here. Okay, Information Man is here. Information Man. Okay, I started back. Information Man is here. Okay, Information Man. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Information Man. We're waiting on everybody else because there's some technical difficulties here. We're waiting on Sister Shirley. I sent her a link. I'm gonna check your email. Right there. I'm on, but I only see me. Are you? Yeah, I saw you. Mark said, I think Mark is going into the wrong hangout. Because he said he can only see himself. I think he's clicking on the old ones. At least he's clicking on them. Okay, Shirley's here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God, thank God.
Hear your voice.
All right. I changed browsers. I don't know if that made a difference, but okay. I had a Chrome, which is Google browser, and I just decided to switch to Safari. I know it wasn't working on Firefox, but
okay. We got Kenneth Wright. Thank you, brother, for coming through. Got Avon May. Thank you. I think Kenneth Wright is supposed to be from Dominguez High School, Shirley.
All right, Kev. Where's up?
I think he told me that before. Yeah. Time permit, we'll pop him on here if he wants to make an appearance, but I really want to go over these questions since you guys are, this is what you guys do. But we're supposed to have BMT here, Mr. Research. So
have you called Research up?
Yeah, I sent him links and everything, but I don't know what's up. And I just sent him a new one too. But yeah, we're almost there. We get people coming through, and it's gonna be fun.
For sure.
Oh, so what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna put a little music on here. Let's play something a little different. Okay, here we go. Throw this one in. Too loud. Put the one in the chat if you can hear it. They put one. Oh, y'all like the song? Okay. I only play my songs, y'all. I ain't trying to get flagged. I wish they, flag me on my song. We going to court. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, please hit that like button on the left. If you're the opposing party, just sit back and just relax. I don't have a name for the song. Hey, you guys, I don't have a name for the song. I just named it Neo so I saved it. I like Neo's song. Okay. So we got, I have to give y'all some shout outs. We got Elmo May again. We got Brother Kenneth Wright. We got Info Man. I don't know if you're still here, Info Man. We got what's it? Aqua Teshi. Right? She said, "Sit back and relax." Oh man. I gotta do more songs like this. Yeah. I said, but you know, you didn't respond. We got Mark. Thank you. Mark has arrived. Woo! Man. Yeah, he's here. I hope his sound works. He doesn't. Shit, I think it's like, I think his sound works. It says pronounced Aqua Tishi. Okay. Okay, appreciate the clarity, fam. Right. So I can't even get to the sound. My computer is slow. It's like this is technical difficulty Wednesday, y'all. Yeah, Wednesday, man. All kinds of crazy stuff happen on Wednesdays. Right? Okay. So So we're gonna go ahead with the program, you know, because I guess it's probably had to happen this way so we can get more intimate with our questioning and answers. Can everybody hear me okay? Because sometimes when I don't have my headset in there, I have to get an echo. They say I have an echo or something. Yeah, Kenneth, right. That name, that sounds like what, Native American or something? Oh, thank you, Evo May. I was going to get into the music business, but you know, I don't know. We'll talk about that another time. Okay, Mark, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Man, good Lord. We've been expecting you, sir.
Well, I'm here.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to take a long way home. Shortcuts really don't really yield much of an advantage.
I wouldn't giving up on you. You know how we are.
That's right. Hey, Shirley, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I have my cell phone mute. Yes, I can hear you, my big brother.
What's happening? How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking.
All right.
Man, y'all gave it away. I'm not supposed to know each other, but okay.
Okay.
Oh, we're not supposed to know each other?
You're supposed to act like y'all strangers, you know.
Right. You know how many few solid Black Republicans there are in the state of California?
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Trust me, we all know each other.
I hope y'all saw the questions too. So we're gonna.
I saw them. I think they're well thought out and some good questions.
Oh, thank you.
Should yield a very passionate debate because although Shirley and I are allies, we don't always agree on everything.
Okay, well, we're gonna get into it because people waited long enough for this moment. You know, I want everything to be nice and clear for everyone out there because people have questions. They might even put questions in the chat as well.
Great. I can hear you. I think I can see Shirley. Can you see me?
No, we can't see you, but we see your avatar or your, what do you call your generic avatar?
Oh, they just gave me a generic avatar?
Yes, it's just a little circle, look like a restroom type thing.
Oh, really? Because I was actually trying to have my face display. I'm not trying to hide behind no avatar.
Well,
so what you have to do is go up to the top where just like hover up at the top, you'll see like a little square in the middle. One will look like a mic and the other will look like a camera. Then click and then take it off.
Since I have my headset free, you guys hear me better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's way better. Yeah.
Okay, I sound like it was a tunnel, and I was in a
Hey,
tunnel.
Art, I didn't know if you're going to have any more conservatives because I know Margaret was going to get through. I text my friend Candace. I sent her a link.
Oh,
She's also
sure. Yeah, send
she's
her the
also
link.
active. Yeah, I sent her a link. So if she
Send her the
comes, I
link.
don't
And
know, but at least I got some other person for you.
yeah, please send her the link. And we want to be able to just have this just a nice little informative discussion so people can start, thinking things through, so we'll be able to have, just nice conversation. Even if you are opposing, at least you'll be able to learn something that you didn't know before the discussion, right?
You should be able to
So
see me now, right?
yes, we can see you, Mr. Young Dude.
Yeah, right. I like to hear.
uh,
Young in
just,
spirit.
just to let people know, this brother right here, really showed me that you can be a down brother and still be Republican or conservative. So ever since I met Mark, I'm like, okay, I look at everybody pretty much even keel rather than just trying to, you know, put people in a box. So I appreciate Brother Mark Isles for, you know, yeah. So, but here we're going to get into introductions. All right. So first of all, introduce yourselves and tell us what you do. Who
Ladies
wants to go
first.
first?
Go ahead, Shirley.
Miss Shirley.
I'm
She
so
must.
sorry. I'm trying to share the site as well as I'm doing a lot of technical things behind the scene. Good evening,
Okay.
everyone. My name is Shirley Husar. I'm the CEO of Urban Game Changers, where we go into urban communities and we hold elected officials accountable, as well as ourselves. As you know, we are in a crisis in this country, especially in California. We're down to 6% blacks. There are no blacks in California like there used to be. We have a massive problem with illegal immigration and immigration. And I'm just here to talk about how, as a black community, how we need to be awakened. Many of us are still not awoke, and we may have different political viewpoints, but we hopefully all agree that that we need to look at ourselves and ourselves first, as other cultures have come here and they have segregated ourselves and they have not assembled as much as we have into the American culture. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm very grateful for Mr. Art having me on. Me and Mark are good friends. I'm not going to leave that as that, but I I just love this country. I love America, and I do love my people. I'm a native. I'm an ADOS. I'm an African American descendant of slave. I can trace my ancestors back to 1810. I've done my DNA. I've done my genealogy, and so I'm very conscious of who and what I am as far as a person in this country.
All right. Okay. Well said. Brother Mark.
My name is Mark Anthony Isles. I'm a Republican, longtime Angelino, born and raised here. I've run for office under the Republican banner twice within the inner city. Served on two national, served as a delegate to two national conventions, the one held in San Diego and then the following one in New York. I've represented the state of California before the international community in Japan as a part of a early 90s delegation that was sent to Japan to foster better business and political relationships between our countries. And I'd like to take credit for laying the foundation for where we are today in that process. Very healthy relationship, ongoing, which did not exist in the early 90s. So I've been around for a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There was a question from Brother Kenneth Wright. He wanted to know if what party do you affiliate yourself with, Republican or Democrat?
I'm a Republican, proud to say it.
Shirley too.
I'm a Republican, a surrogate, and a delegate for Donald J. Trump for
Okay.
2016, and I love my president and I love my country.
Okay. So you skipped over two of my questions, but that's fine. We're moving right along. Okay. So describe your position or roles in the party now. What's going on today?
Who are you addressing?
Anyone that wants to tackle it. Are you a delegate now, or do you work for a
I
congressperson
was an
or?
I was an RNC delegate for 2016. I'm not a delegate anymore for either the state or national. I am still partly a surrogate for Trump. I still get their emails. I'm updated about what goes on in the White House. So I'm technically kind of on and off the books as far as a surrogate for the president. I speak highly of him. I believe in what we're doing for this country is much different than has been done in the past. So if you want to say that, my primary focus is real estate. I'm a real estate developer. I'm developing here and in Texas. I am a licensed realtor for 20 years in California. I'm a real estate developer because I went to USC Financial Real Estate Development. As far as my role as a Republican, I am a conservative Republican. And that means I believe in fiscal responsibility. I believe in entrepreneurship and not so much government imposing. We do believe in government, but limited government, not so much like the Democrat that wants to continue to impose all these programs. I think the Lyndon B. Johnson African-American family has devastated Black communities. And if you understand what Lyndon B. Johnson's notions and programs were about, he's done a great job because now we as a whole, as a country, are a disarray. So my goal as a supporter of the president and as an activist for my own people is that we wake up to the true realness of we were the ones that cooked and cleaned and built stores and did markets, and that energy still lives within us. It just needs to be awakened.
Okay, Brother Mark.
Well, I am a longtime Republican. I support the two-party system. I believe that the two-party system works. My message is a message of balance, and nowhere in America are we further out of balance than among people of color, not just Black people, but Latins, Asians, and other non-traditional Republicans. There are only two primary roads leading to the seat of power in this country, and the Republican Party is one of those major roads. So I believe that it's time for all of us, Blacks, Latinos, Jews, all non-traditional Republicans to be fully vested in the American political system. And that means having active, respectful members on both sides of the aisle. And I think that the absence of that balance is the foundation of all the problems that exist in America, not just in the Black community, but in America. America is completely out of balance. And that is the reason why we elected President Trump, because we're fed up with the status quo. And I am very pleased with what our president has done. He's done everything that I have elected. He's satisfied my vote. I will be voting for him again next round. I think the Republican Party is poised for true, meaningful reform, meaning that those of us that in California that followed Brooks Firestone ascension, we lost here in California by a very small margin. I think we will soon get another opportunity to pull the California Republican Party back into relevancy. Okay,
so do you prefer to be around primarily conservative or Republican circles, Shirley?
And what do you mean? I prefer to be around intellectual circles. Does that make sense to you? I think the challenge I have is you can have both circles where a bunch of idiots are on the board. You just can. And just to tailgate on Mark, the last governor, who was the chairman? The current chairman right now is a young lady who is Latino. So that tells you that the party has expanded to different levels. But to chime back to your question, I prefer intellectual people who understand reasonably. The problem is most people don't understand government. They don't understand local, state, and federal. So before I can have a more in-depth conversation, I have to identify what do you understand of government and go from there.
Okay, Brother Mark?
Well, I like to echo that sentiment. I prefer to be around people that have strong enough character and are comfortable enough in their own skin to disagree, and particularly passionately disagree, because when you start talking politics, the discussions are going to be very passionate. If you go back to the time when the most progress was made, particularly amongst Black people, man, it was when you walked into a room, particularly during the Civil Rights Movement, every voice under the sun was represented in that room. Prior to 1932, 100% of Black Americans were Republicans. FDR started our movement from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. President Eisenhower, who desegregated our military, stopped it. And then President Kennedy opened the floodgates. And in the 60s, we all overwhelmingly, through the leadership of Dr. King, put our weight behind the Democratic Party. And I'm not even here to second guess that movement. I'm merely saying that the Civil Rights Movement is over. It was a huge success. The post-Civil Rights Movement, which I declare to be, say, 1970 forward, was an absolute failure and has led us to our complete and total demise. It has denigrated the family, and Black folks, come on now, the Civil Rights Movement grew out of the Southern Baptist movement. Come on. There's no other movement in this country more conservative. None other.
Okay.
So we are a polarized country, and we are a community that's living on that river that runs straight through the Nile, and we do not have an accurate view of ourselves. Period.
Okay. So touching on the title a little bit, the next question would be, can you be pro-Black and conservative, or to be conservative and Republican? Can you be pro-Black with those titles?
I'm not sure what it means to be pro-Black. What does it mean to be Black in America today? Do you realize that the majority of children born in America today are not even born to Black men and Black women? They are born to men and women of mixed race. The majority of children of color are not even born to Black men and Black women. So what does it mean to be Black today? I don't even, I'm an individual, my skin color is Black. I respect my heritage. I love my heritage, but everything that I associate being Black with, the food, the healthy food, the art, the music, it's all mainstream America today. Every bit of it. So the fact of the matter is that whether we want to embrace miscegenation and acculturation, that is a path that we're on. And frankly, I support that path. I think that is the path to America's problems, and certainly the path to most problems that we consider to be quote unquote Black problems, which, again, I don't even know. If you brought 100 people of color into a room and asked them what it meant to be Black, you'll probably get 200 different answers.
Okay. Sister Shirley?
So if you use the word Black, you can say Black, Negro, African American, and pick any one of those words, colored. We've been tagged and named several things over the decades. Since 1619, the War Dutchman brought 20 Africans here as commoditized good trades and service. So what is Black today? It depends. If you're African American descendants of slaves, such as myself, my grandmother was half white. But if you look at me, you wouldn't see my grandmother. So there might have been a time in my genealogy where there was more light, and then they married a dark, and then it went dark again, and it went light again. So it can happen with me. So it just depends on how you look at it. I look at it as far as the culture. Let's look at Black American culture. Not the Camilla wannabe Black hairs. I'm not talking about people like who claims to be Black or African American. I'm talking about someone that can relate to the 60s, can relate to the 50s and the 40s, that can talk about Jim Crow, that can talk about social Darwinism, that can talk about the emancipation, that they've got family members that they can trace back genealogy connected. That is the culture, how we eat, the fact that our high blood pressure and our salt, most of the time, because we came from farmers. Our family were farmers. So the way we eat in our diet, or our inheritance of recipes, is based on heavy meals, so that when we get older, that weight still stay was on us because we were working in the fields. So a lot of people don't realize that our culture centered around how American utilized this culture that they created. We are more connected to a white America than we are to Mexicans and Latinos and Asians and all these other people that they all want to compare us to. When you think of African Americans, you have colonist blood in you, and you have African blood in you. That is an African American. That's the Black that I connect to. So, can I be both? Absolutely. That, you know, you're talking about a political philosophy or how you look at a society and how it should be ran as far as Americans' infrastructure when it comes to, you know, how do I look at my policies that affect my life and my children and my friends. When it comes to Black culture, I make sure that myself and my children constantly stay in tune with the real ground, because we live in a country that, like I told you, it's so desegregated, especially in California, with this movement of immigration and illegal immigration, which causes people to come here proudly of their culture, but because we were stripped because of slavery and American history so tainted on not exploiting the African American aspirations and contributions, there's where you have a difference. So yeah, that's where I feel.
Okay. So the next question, because we'll keep it moving. Now I know you remember the whole Brexit thing where everybody was wearing a lot of MAGA hats and taking pictures at the White House, and and just large numbers. I mean, young Black conservatives and Republicans, right? I wanted to find out from you guys, are there any Black Republican or conservative circles that you frequent? And if so, how can you expand on that? How does that go?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Derek.
Just one second. Before you guys answer the question, we're going to introduce the young brother that just came on the panel. What is your name, sir?
My name's Derek Gradenigo. I'm out in Texas in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've done a lot of work over the last year and a half with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. So it's ironic that I chime in right at the beginning of that question you just asked.
Yeah, because you were there, correct?
Yeah, I believe they've had 3 events. One, I believe, LA, DC, and one in Dallas, and I believe the next one will be in Chicago. Okay,
so if you can, would you be able to fall back until we get to you on this particular question, because I think you'd probably be able to sum it up better. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's straight.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the question again. Is are there any Black Republican or conservative circles that you frequent? And if so, would you be able to expand? Because some people are not knowing, how that works, especially from the outside. So Shirley, would you like to tackle this one first?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sure. I was like doing something else. I've been a Republican all my life. So that goes back to when I was 18 and I was able to vote. So I've been involved with the Republican Party for a long time. I go back to 1996. That was before half these people were born on this call. I go back to working on 4 presidencies, senators, congressional leaders, congressmen. And I can't speak for Mark, but I can tell you Mark's probably got a resume that'll blow a lot of people away as well. So in saying that, fast forward to this new generation, there's 2 types. There's that turncoat Democrat who now become a Republican. And then there's these old school Republicans like myself. So when you talk about circles, the circles that we hang around are usually, if we do hang out together, for me, I hang around my Urban Game Changer team. I hang around, maybe talk to some of the Frederick Douglass people when I fly back and forth to DC. So as far as circles to hang around, there's not too many conservative Black organizations. So I will be corrected if needed to be, but I think I'm going to be on point with this. Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA is a more newer, younger college group that is controlled and ran by a white organization that has Black young activists underneath it. It's not a Black organization, it's not Black owned. It is a white organization with heads of white people who conduct and basically create opportunities for young people to go into college and talk about what's going on. My understanding recently is that Candace Owens is no longer with them, Brandon Tatum's no longer with them, and the Latino girl's no longer with them. As well as apparently there's some white supremacist issues with their leaders in Nevada and other parts of the country. So in saying all that, they've had some great moments where they've gone out there, They've brought a lot of young people together and being able to meet with the president and take the picture with the president. The organizational circles that I hang around are more focused on legislation. We're more focused on the Black family and economic empowerment. We are also ran by Black people and owned by Black people. So it's a little bit different when you have the dynamics of your own people controlling and running and setting a foundation for your voice. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay, Mr. Mark Isles.
I have always been active in the Republican Party, and since I've been a Republican since 1985, and since that time, I have frequented groups from center to right, and not primarily African American, because again, I came into the party at a time when the African American involvement was at a low, wasn't very high. So I have my experience is a mixed experience. It's not an experience of being around primarily people of color or minorities. It's a mixed group. The group of center to right thinkers that that came very close to gaining control over the California Republican Party, and it involved everyone from left to right in the Republican Party. In fact, it was led by Brooks Firestone, who was a longtime Republican, and also held office in the Santa Barbara area. I think he was a county supervisor for the county of Santa Barbara. So I have frequented groups from the far left of the Republican Party to the far right. And quite frankly, I think that success in the future is going to involve the personality that's going to be able to attract from each sector of the party. I don't believe it's going to be, I think as we move forward, ethnic politics is going to become less and less important, because if you look at the demographics of America, it's not Black, it's not white, it's mixed. It's mixed, and there's only one group of women in America that have a positive birth rate, and has for the last 40 years, and that's Latinas. So as we fast forward 10 years, and it may take 10 years before the kind of reform Shirley is working for and the kind of reform I'm working for actually metastasizes and becomes a serious political force. You know how long it took before the civil rights movement of the 60s? Actually, it didn't just happen overnight. It started in the 1800s. It took 100 years before it actually became a meaningful movement. Let's hope that it does not take us that long to get there. I don't think that it will, because of where we are in the country today, and the demographics are changing very quickly, and they're changing in favor of voices like myself and voices like Shirley. I don't know the young man. I don't know his voice, so I can't speak for him. But Shirley and I have been involved with each other in and out for, probably what, 20 years at least?
Yeah, that's about right.
At least about 20 years. So I don't see the color issue as being significant going forward. There's only one thing that I think is going to matter going forward is do you consider yourself an American, and are you ready, according to the Bill of Rights, the preamble, and all of the other written articles that define this country, or are you ready to claim your identity and to claim what's already yours, what's inherently yours?
Right.
American citizenship is inherently mine. I was born and raised here. I have every right to pursue my dreams, my ambitions, according to the rule of law as anyone else in this country. And the one thing I will not do under no circumstances is ask for permission to do it.
Okay, Mr. Derrick.
Can I say one more thing on top of Mark? Everything Mark said is so true, because see, at the beginning, we didn't get into saying, hey, let's go hang out with the Black group. We're intellects. So you're going to find out groups that really correspond to whatever your needs were for your communities. If it was something local you were really passionate about, you would gravitate towards groups that did that. The Federated Women, they love to do cold calling and represent candidates. You would find that group. If you wanted a group that had to deal with health and sanitation or abortion or whatever. So when we got started, it was more like that. Identity politics is really more relevant today in 2017, where people are kind of culturally divided, socially divided very heavily. It would be nice if we went back to kind of where it was. I don't see it that way. So my difference in Mark is this. I am very focused on the African American community, understanding its importance and its place in this country, especially the African American descendants of slaves. And I only think that'll start from us talking to each other, not a dictation of something outside, but us within each other. And I think that is the only difference today than when me and Mark were a long time ago came in. It wasn't as focused as it was. He's absolutely right.
Okay, so I want to acknowledge Mr. Research. We'll get to you, Mr. Research, but we got to get to Brother Derek because he needs to respond to the questions as well. So we're trying to get it in order. So go ahead, Mr. Derek.
Well, would you mind? We are
talking.
Where are we going with it? Like, I guess, like, are you asking for kind of like when you mentioned it, you were saying something about Blexit. Do you want my views of that or views of everything going on with it?
No, per se. I mean, did you read the title?
Yes, here.
Okay, so we're addressing.
Well, I guess I'm just piggybacking off of what everyone said. I've been bouncing around pretty much with everybody. I've been with Turning Point. I've been with Blexit. The Frederick Douglass Foundation. I was with them last week at the Trump victory thing or whatever for the United States. Where I'm coming from now is, listen, I heard Miss Shirley give a great thing talking about there's two sides, talking about the turncoat Democrat and then the person who's been in it forever. But I also like to throw in that there's a new element of new blood resurging into this kind of play. And it's the blood of the kind of like patriotic black mixed individual that never felt that they were a part of anything. The Tupac of sorts of politics, the descendant of a Malcolm, or the end of Martin's reign where he talked about the poor people's movement. This is what you're starting to see with a Candace Owens, but she's just the beginning. These new groups that are popping up are, we mentioned earlier about Charlie Kirk in a white organization. Here's the issue that I'm finding with a lot of stuff going on. It's because of Charlie Kirk that I was able to get into the White House in October. Okay, he had something called the Young Black Leadership Summit. 300 to 400 of us went. Al Sharpton lied about it, basically said we were paid to go. No one got a check. We showed up there, got into the White House. Now, I find that we as a black community tend to think of things like, well, white man got us in, this, that, or the other, blah, blah. We are of the mindset of, as long as we get in, we in. And once we're in, it's time to win. Now, here's the reality. We're looking at a lot of people here. So the young blood here is looking at people and we're saying, okay, you guys have been in Congress. Some of you African-American gentlemen have been in Congress, been working on these races 10, 20 plus years, and you're losing. Like, you're basically losing. You're knocking on doors. You're doing this, that, or the other. And a lot of people are beefing with the Candace Owenses of the world or whatever, or this, that, or the other. But my question is, who wants to win? Because who wants to win for the black community? Because Candace, all that knocking on doors is working real hard. But you know what else works hard? A washing machine. At the end of the day, with one tweet, Candace Owens can hit 500,000 people immediately. And we're talking about knocking on doors. My thing is about winning. Like, it is about 100% touching the black community and winning. That's why I'm also working with Pastor Scott and Kareem Lanier and the Urban Revitalization Coalition. Anything that we can touch, we want to win. Like, that's this new blood. And we're not trying to step on anybody's toes.
Step on some toes. You're going to have to step on some toes.
No.
Do that.
No, I mean.
Do
look,
that.
No,
really?
no. So listen, let me give you an example. Okay.
I love everything you're saying.
No, look.
I do, man. You got me over here gleaming like I'm a 2-year-old kid.
Look, so when we went to the White House, it was 400 of us. And when you're in the East Room, they have a rope for the press. So let me give you an example of how this thing is switching, just so you can get a visual. Behind that rope is a gentleman named Roland Martin. Y'all may know Roland Martin, pundit, leftist pundit, whatever. He's trying to goat us to come and engage with him instead of listening to the president, like what's going on. So some people go over, and you guys know the way this thing goes when the liberal conservative argument. It's facts, facts, facts. Conservative wins, and then liberal starts going personal for the crowd. You know what I mean? He starts going personal on mud for the crowd to be like, ooh, same thing. Facts, facts, facts. Roland Martin starts going personal. Starts, oh, well, this and that, and your mama, blah, blah. But what he didn't know is the new blood starts going back at him, talking about his clothes, his scarf, on camera, in front of everybody. Because at the end of the day, we know better than anybody that even in this game, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. We've been seeing so many conservatives bring a knife to a gunfight, and we're like, no, we're not having it. You want to sling the dirt? We're going to sling it back. Now, also understand that there's plenty of us that have no aspirations to be in politics. We have no aspirations. We're just hyper Americans, and we want to do our part. So for those that want to stay clean and be, you know, they want to run for Congress, or whether it's North Carolina or something, that's fine. But we're more of the underground characters who are going to say how it is. We're going to tell it how it is. And if it's time to sling mud with Roland Martin, Angela Rye, or any of the rest of them, it's going to get it on. Yeah, it's going to be popping. It's the thing that a lot of people we always witness, that I have a little bit of a problem with, for instance, the Candace Owenses. I hear a lot of people micromanaging every word this woman says. Here's the thing, y'all. This is what's so funny. Like, we as Black people have to start learning to take what we want from some people and not treat everybody like they're the Queen of England. We can let white folks say all kinds of stuff, right? We could let Donald Trump, he could come through and say Lil Marco, Ted Cruz's dad shot JFK, all this stuff, and we take the good stuff from him and lead a basket. But if Candace says one thing wrong, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this chick don't need to be leading nothing in the Black community, blah, blah. My thing is this. Do not come to me talking about Candace Owens needs to move around until you got somebody to replace her with. See, because I'm trying to win. And
Brother Derek,
winning right now,
Brother Derek, I need you to wrap it up because we want to be able to go around with the questions. But because this is dessert that you're giving a dessert. Okay. So I want you to be able to save some dessert for later because we're going to go into that. So just wrap it up like quickly so we can move it.
No, I'm wrapped up. You got it. You got it. I'm wrapped up. All I wanted to say was we as the Black community have to stop. And again, there's a lot of programming that's happened in our past to where part of it, we don't even know we eating our own, but we eating our own. And my thing is this. I want to win. So unless you are coming with something else, do not tell me about no beef with nobody in the Black community that's a conservative, because we got a lot of Black conservatives all of a sudden beefing with each other. Like, I don't want to hear about no beef. I don't want to hear about no nothing unless you have a remedy, period. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a remedy, we all going down.
Okay. Right. So I hope you didn't answer the questions coming forward, but we'll see. That's why I should have just kidded. But I appreciate your contribution to this panel, brother. I really appreciate you. Brother Research, did you remember actually at the what we were going around asking, are there any Black or Black Republican or conservative circles that you frequent, and if so, how is that done?
Absolutely. So I'll answer the question, but first I think it's fair to say to the chat room and those people who will watch a little bit of quick 30-second background on who I am. Sorry I can't show my face. I'm laying down. I just finished work and I'm tired. So I am Mr. Research. Been on YouTube since 2007. I've seen people come and go. As far as conservatism, I'm an Edmund Burke conservative. I'm John Adams. I'm about numbers. I'm not a Reaganite. I didn't like the numbers. I'm not a person who is anti-Black. I am a very black first type of person because there are Irish first conservatives, Ukrainian first conservatives. There are people who, in their ethnicity, they have no problem holding on to their understanding of politics while at the same time operating with what best serves their group and their children. I'm going to be speaking out at the Virginia thing with Shirley, and I'm starting the whole Black Sun First movement type of conversation. So that's me. Just letting you know the background. And I've been a conservative ever since Eazy-E went into the White House with a black hat and all black. So
I was there. I did that. I was standing there that night when he walked through the door.
There you go. So I've been in it for a while. I'm not new. I'm not an anti-black speaker. Conservatism for me is about keep it here, keep as much with us as possible. That's the whole idea that Edmund Burke tried to push out. So anyway, with that said, conservative circles, they've been very limited in the 80s. They started picking up a little bit more prominence in the 90s. The problem has always been, since the creation of Fox News, that some of our fellow Americans, what I call our cousins, they tend to forget the numbers, forget the policy, and talk ethnicity. I made a joke one time at a Republican event. I said, sometimes being a black Republican is like, and it didn't get no applause. It just got stares because it made people think. I said, it's kind of like someone saying to you something about your black skin, and they forget that you're an American, and they're buddy with this white Russian. And then the white Russian puts a knife to their neck. And then all of a sudden they turn to the black American and say, please help me. So, you know, you gotta be group first mentality when you're talking politics. Not a fan of Democrats, only because it's just too flippy floppy. It's not consistent, and it's just terrible. So that's the way I answer your question, is that unfortunately what's been happening since a lot of new people have risen, you've had people, which what happened with Rebel TV or Rebel Blaze TV. You have people who are not truly from America, Canada, Britain, other parts of Europe, coming over and using their black skin to pretend like they're black Americans. And then in essence, talk what I consider anti-black. And I'll end on this note. I was saying to somebody was asking me what is anti-black. I said, you know, in the FBI data, it says arrested. Black people are arrested at a higher rate. It doesn't say commit. But you'll have people trying to appeal to an anti-black or anti-ADO narrative. They'll lie and use the word commit when they blatantly know that it says arrested. So I'm not into that type of concept, using my black skin to have those type of conversations. I want black sons to win, and then I want black daughters to win, and therefore I'm a bit black ADO at first. Thank you.
Okay. So just to remind people, we have Brother Derek, Brother Mark, Brother Mr. Research, and Sister Shirley on the panel. They're giving us their undivided attention for us and informing us of things that I feel that's not said enough without having it obstructed. Okay, I really appreciate them being here. We're going to swing it to Mark.
Yes, sir.
Now, are there? Let me see where we're at. So does your politics interfere with your interaction amongst black people in the community?
No, not at all. I mean, I love going to my barbershop. I'm here in Los Angeles, and my barbershop in Los Angeles is In Effect. You may have remembered it was recently in the news for the wrong reasons, but that is not an atypical situation for In Effect. And we have been, and it's primarily, you know, it's 99% black. All the barbers are black. And we routinely have passionate conversations about politics, about religion, about the Black community. And the thing that I enjoy most about those conversations is it's the only place where I go where my views are in the majority. And what I notice is that the majority of the men in that room, that in the barbershop, that frequent this barbershop, the majority of them do not have college degrees.
Wow.
They do not have college degrees. So and I look forward to getting my hair cut because I look forward to hearing what they have to say. I look forward to them challenging me. And it's one of the few places, like predominantly Black environments, that I go in where my point of view is appreciated. It's not always well received, but it's appreciated. And you know, we're talking about, you know, these are some solid Black men from the ages of 18 to 45. You know, and they're not afraid to challenge you, and they have been very, very challenging. And when you come back with a response that resonates, they also let you know. You know, and so I have never shied away from sharing my point of view, regardless of what the environment is. Frankly, the environment where I am least appreciated is liberal whites.
Mm-hmm.
Liberal whites are the most condescending group that I've ever encountered. And the thing about it is not that they're condescending that disturbs me. Is that they don't even understand that their comments are condescending. At least conservative racist Republicans know that they're conservative racist. I got no love for Steve Bannon or his point of view or anyone that follows him. My approach in the Republican Party is to get in their faces and defeat them. I have no intentions of ever embracing them, and I'm never going to be quiet about it. I never have been. But I appreciate the Steve Bannons of the world much more than I appreciate white liberals, because at least Steve Bannon will just straight out tell me he don't like me and he ain't got no love for me in no uncertain terms, rather than pat me on the back twice and saying I'm your friend.
Mm. Wow, brother Mark, I would love for you to expand on that a little later with the liberal whites, because I definitely want to hear everyone's point of view on that, because we don't get to hear that too being addressed.
Yep.
So please try to if I forget, please remind me towards the end.
Sure.
So you just added another question on the list. I would like to welcome our great esteemed Afro Synergy. I mean, he needs no introduction, but wow, I'm very honored that he would be here on my panel. I would if you may, Mr. Afro Synergy, can you give us a brief introduction of what you do and who you are, so people can be more familiar that's out there that haven't seen you?
Okay, well, hey, thanks a lot. I'm sorry I'm joining late, but I just got the message, was doing some things around here. So, but anyway, Afro Synergy News, I've been around in social media for quite some time. I'm out on YouTube. I'm also out on Facebook, Afro Synergy News. I deal with local issues that pertains to African-American people here in the United States, as well as African Black people in the diaspora as a whole around the world. So I deal with geopolitics also. I'm wholly and totally against the whole illegal alien situation, totally against that. I do not believe in and that there is a black and brown coalition. I voted for Donald Trump, and I believe in supporting those things that are in the interest of Black people. I am totally for reparations, totally for that. There's justification for it, and totally putting forward an effort to push and promote reparations, and with the mantra that if you don't support reparations, then you don't get our vote. period. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, regardless of who you are, you don't get our vote. We are at a point in time right now. I just did a program, finished a program about how illegal aliens have now invaded the South in very large numbers. It didn't just start, it's been happening for the last 2 decades, but they're in the South in big numbers. So I deal with all of that and other issues, economic issues as well, that relates to African American people. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so you came in on the question, because I'll give this question to you, brother Afro Synergy. Is does your politics interfere with your interactions in the Black community?
Does my politics interfere with my interaction in the Black community? Well, yes and no. You're always going to have some African Americans who are not going to like your political views, and you're also going to have some who like your political views. And for some of those who don't like your political views, with some of them, if they listen long enough, some of them are convinced, and they come to a point where they support your political views. So I'm all about putting the information out there, but putting the truth out there. No lies, just the truth. Putting the truth out there and making it easy for them to understand, comprehensive, being right to the point. And if they accept it, they accept it. If they don't accept it, well, that's their business. You just move on, and you continue to put that message out there. So it's a mixed bag. There are some who will support it and embrace it, and others who will not. But you still put it out there, and sometimes those who don't support it, sometimes they come around later, and sometimes others, they will never come around, and that's fine too, because I know in the end, if you're pushing and promoting the truth and you're backing it with solid evidence, that inevitably wins. So I know that.
Okay, we're going to take it to Sister Shirley. Sister Shirley, you remember the question?
I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
Okay, does your politics interfere with your interactions in the Black community?
I wouldn't use the word interfere. Does it interject might be more relevant for me. So I would say yes in the fact that it interjects. So in 2016, I was the first African-American woman to be able to announce for the state of California. And I think I might have been the only one that announced for a state with her sons behind her. I made U.S. history that day when we took our entire state of California to support the President of the United States. And when it did, it put us on a platform where we were more visual. And so when people see me, they go, oh, that's the Republican, that California Republican. So the challenge with that is when you Google my name, or if you see me in the Black community, if it has to do with Black things, they always call on me. Like there's this new movement of Nora LA, which is a Fox show, local Fox show for African Americans. Nora means Black in French. And they called upon me to be on the show and represent the Republican Party. But these were non-Republican people. So yes, I have non-Republican friends who are African American, where we talk about politics. But again, we talk about the needs of our people. And if it surrounds politics, it depends on how you approach the issue versus the policy, versus the policies or the party that you pertainly work with. As an advocate for the President of the United States and such a passionate person about what he has done, I think they have a different perspective now of what they expected from Trump than in 2016. A lot of people have turned their minds towards respecting him. There's a lot of people who have just come on board who just understood that this is their president, and I am 100% behind that. So has it affected me in some way? In some way, I have to say yes, because I am an entrepreneur. I own my own business. I'm a real estate developer. I'm in technology. So when people, for businesses that want me to work with them, I have to explain a little bit, this is part of who I am. And they either accept me or they don't, especially being a person that owns their own business.
Okay, Brother Derek?
piggybacking off of what Miss Shirley just said, that was so profound. I caught a piece of it that kind of touched me, and it's basically like results matter. And I'm just going to say that results matter. Back in 2015, 2016, boots on the ground, whether you're in the hood, the barrio, the ghetto, the trailer park, the block was hot when it came to supporting Donald Trump. Let's just put it that way. The block was hot. A lot of people didn't understand why we were doing what we were doing, especially when you're in the streets trying to talk to people, this, that, or the other. But results matter. And I'm going to tell you, the block doesn't get hotter than when you show up in DC with Candace Owens and the entire Black community that you know wants to know what's going on because they're being pumped by the liberal establishment that now you want to eradicate every Black man in the ghetto. So one thing I could tell you is that it did affect me in my interactions because simply I was getting death threats like every morning in my inbox, finding out that, you know, I was supporting Trump. I was out here with Turning Point. I was out here doing speeches. I was out here doing this, that, and the third. But again, I like to give the example of if you're somebody who basically, let's say you live in Miami and you support LeBron James. The people of Miami are like, oh, look at you. You're supporting LeBron James. You're a sellout. You're this, that, or the other, blah, blah, blah. But it's one thing to do that. And then it's one thing to pop up with LeBron James in a picture. And where everything changed is when I got into the White House and the picture started circulating with me and Stacey Dash or me and Don Jr., all of a sudden the Black community that was ostracizing me in my neighborhood backed up a taste because results matter. And all of a sudden they say, well, wait a second. This guy isn't just a fan. Like, this guy's actually involved, and how can I be a part? And this is where I started to see the thing switch, that our community isn't really, wasn't really hating President Trump. They were just confused, and they're being, befuddled by the liberals. And if we could offer them a place, then things will change. And we're starting to see that now with the prison reform, the First Step Act. I mean, we're freeing 2,200 people this month. 91% of those people are African Americans. I mean, I don't think people understand the gravity of that. And these are the type of things that when I tell people, when I go into the hood, it's basically like the hood wants to know what they could get right now. The hood doesn't want to know about policy. A lot of people don't even understand what the hell that is. They don't want to talk about roads. They don't want to talk about schools. They want to know, they say, I've been lied to 55 years, bro. What do I get now? Period. What can you give me now? And when I tell them, well, look, bro, your uncle's in prison, maybe we could work on it. That is something that I can directly give them now. And it's hard to deny that. So my interactions with the hood are getting much better now. And I think they're going to get even better as the president continues to roll out more and more great things.
Wow. I appreciate you. And we got Mr. Research. Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I did remember the question this time. I think I got it. So I never lost my thing with the hood because I've always been from the hood. I just elevated. Partially being an honor student, being able to hold conversations with different ethnicities, in addition to where I grew up, 2 blocks away from where the Black Panthers were created. I got to interact with a lot of different people on different levels. So with that said, I never lost mine. People would always say to me, hey, Mr. Research, you're different than these other Republicans. And I would tell them that's because conservatism has nothing to do with Republicans. It's two totally different things.
Yeah.
But the anti-Blacks don't know that. And the anti-Blacks spend a lot of time confusing that issue. And so what I try to say to guys is Republicans are a group. Conservatism is a way of governance. And you have to understand that. And if not, just go read the guy who created conservatism. And if you don't like that, go read one of John Adams' books. Some people that I run into are Reaganites. And because they're Reaganites, they give an impression to the community as, oh wow, Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony. Got to hit yourself on mute, Mark.
Okay.
Some people in the black world, we see one element of Republican, and we generally assume that TV version is all there is, and we as conservatives have done a disservice to people. My last comment is I've never lost connection because my thing has always been trying to help. People see me even on YouTube. I had to school a couple of popular YouTubers on conservatism, things they didn't even know. And they say live, Mr. Research, I didn't know that because, I'm new to conservatism. And I'll say, well, don't listen to this guy over here as your Bible for conservatism. Go read the book, go read the guy who originated, or go read some other theories. Don't go off this one little thing. And my last point, I'm sorry. Well, that should have been my last point. But what Derek said is very, very key. Now is about it. It's about what we are doing for these people now. Like I said, I'm part of Black Sons movement. We got to do something for these black boys now. And if you are a person that's not into Trump or into Republicans or what have you, what I want you to do is take over your city council where you are. What I want you to do is take over your teachers union and put Art in charge so he can start bringing some real teachers in. But what we cannot do is sit up here and finger point at each other, which is what I see some anti-black people do. They use their black faces to get on and critique black people 24/7. And the Pakistanis are going to be taking over soon, and we don't have time for that.
Okay. So since we have a nice variety of panelists here, now we got to take it down to a 2-minute limit, so we can keep the flow. And because I want to leave room for other things besides my questions. I know a lot of you have a lot to share in addition to what you're saying now. So just keep that in mind. When you guys go towards the end of the 2-minute mark, I'll probably give you a 30-second warning just to help you wrap it up. I don't have any buzzer or any type of sound effects, but I'll do my best. Just for those people that are coming in, we have a great panel, and you guys can read the description at the bottom. But we have Afro Synergy, we have Derek, we have Mark, we have Mr. Research, and we have Shirley. So they're here to really give us all the information that they can have. They donate a lot of their time. So I appreciate everybody for being here in the chat and here on the panel. So we're going to go into this one right here. It's probably one of the most common questions, but usually I hear when this question is being asked, you usually have the opposing side throwing things in there where we can't understand what you're trying to say. So now it's just you. We don't have any interruptions. And the question is, and this is one of my special requests. If you can, without a compare and contrast of Democrats, all right, if possible, can you explain why a black person should consider being a Republican? Okay, so I'm gonna go with Afro Synergy.
Well, some of you know that I'm an independent, but I would say the reason why some African Americans right now today should consider being a Republican, or at least supporting certain issues that are pertinent to Republicans. I don't really believe in the party thing. I really believe more in interests. What's in my interest? What's in the interest of African American people? So to bring it to the 2-minute mark here, what I look at is some of the things right now is this. At least with Donald Trump, you have someone who's in power, who's a member of the Republican Party, who is for law and order with regards to Section 8, subsection 1325 in regards to illegal aliens. That's good. And also he's brought it back around to where it was to a point when Lincoln was president, and that is a focus on humanity part. When he ran for president, he said, I don't want to start any more new wars. I don't want to be involved in regime changes. Those were good things. And those were things that were actually not even characteristic of the Republican Party to a large degree in the past, but they were good things. They were conservatively good things. So that's why I say it's more about interest. It's more about right and wrong than it is about party, because sometimes party can lead you down the wrong trail depending on who's leading you and who the major voice is within that party. But as long as you have a guiding point to guide you right between right and wrong, then you can't go wrong with that, regardless whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent.
Okay. We're going to go to Brother Derek.
I believe he said it in a great capacity, and I would just piggyback off of my brother there and say, I believe that on the right, we're seeing a lot of our traditional African American values. When we're talking about, religious freedom, we're talking about heavily God influence. Aside from what he also mentioned, the illegals, which is insane to me, that a lot of times it shows that our Black community, we do a great job of we're very good because we're very street smart, but we also have an ability to be pimped at times. And I'm shocked that more of our African-American brothers cannot see the pimp game going on. Just to keep this under 2 minutes, I ran up on Sheila Jackson Lee in Houston personally, ran up on her with a videotape on my Instagram and asked her, what did she want me to tell the brothers in Oakland, where I was born, about the fact that they're still waiting on certain elements of restitution after 400 years of being here, and you want to allow illegals to come and be in front of them in line. Her response to me simply was, my heart is big enough to allow all people to come here at the same time. This is a message that Black people need to hear. They don't know this. They don't know that these liberals want them not to come in line together, to come in front of them. And that is, I believe that's one of our jobs here. So while we sit here and talk, that's why I'm trying to get people blowed up on Instagram. I'm trying to get people blowed up on Facebook, because they will not put this message in the media. But they will put it, if we bark it enough and say it loud enough, then to me, it's got to get fixed. Tupac Shakur, before he died, he said, they kept asking him, they said, you got 5 million album sales. You keep barking about this stuff. What's your plan? And his plan was, he said, look, I don't know how to fix it. He said, but I know if I keep saying it on TV long enough, somebody's going to address it. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Derek, I met Tupac in Digital Underground in Palladium back in '89.
Wow.
Oh, that Hate Street? Yeah, I remember, man.
Wow.
Brother Mark.
Well, I am coming from a point of view of, I embrace the two-party system. If you go back to the time when the Black community was living at its highest level, it was during a time when our challenges were the greatest. If you go back to the time of Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, they came together routinely and had passionate public debates where they routinely disagreed with one another, respectfully. Now, I believe that was the foundation of the success of the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was a great success because of all of those competing ideas behind the scenes. And then they ultimately rallied behind a leader who ultimately became Dr. Martin Luther King, who had a huge opposition. He was not very popular during his life. He was much more popular after his life. So then Dr. King dies and Jesse Jackson takes over as the quote unquote leader. And what's the first thing that Jesse Jackson does? He says, do not question the civil rights movement. Now, when he said that, the civil rights movement was over. He became the leader of the post-civil rights movement, and the post-civil rights movement was rooted in single thinking, monolithic thinking. If you challenge them, you were out. You were out, O-U-T. And so today, I'm saying African American, as far as I'm concerned, is not a culture. It's not an ethnicity. It was a political movement, and it's a political movement that has run its course. I embrace the two-party system. It is time for us to get vested on all sides of this political system and claim it as ours. It is ours.
Okay.
It's time for us to claim it.
So you don't have like any kind of so when you say you embrace the two-party system, you're saying that you don't really take the time to really try to convince someone to join either party?
No, I'm saying what I am saying is that when you go into, let's take the lower middle class. In fact, let's take the middle class. Let's take middle class communities across this country. In every middle class community that has maintained some semblance of forward movement without regression, there's one thing that happens in every one of them. Every time there is a political debate, there are people from the Democratic Party, people from the Republican Party, libertarians, left thinkers, right thinkers, center thinkers, and there is an open debate. When you go into those communities, whether it's a Black community, a Latino community, any community that is regressing, when you show up like I did when I ran for office in the inner city of Los Angeles, I was not even allowed to speak. I was not allowed to speak. What I'm saying is that I am a Republican. I believe if individuals, if the government can do it, you and I can do it better. Black Wall Street was not built by the government. The government destroyed Black Wall Street. Rosewood was not built by the United States government. Well, the government didn't destroy it, but individuals representing the government did.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that it is about like-minded thinking, and like everybody else has said, it's about winning. I think Derek hit that point over and over again, which is music to my ears. It's about winning. If you don't win, it doesn't even matter. It's insignificant.
Okay, so we're going to move it to Mr. Research.
Repeat it for me one more time, sir.
Okay. Now, without doing the whole compare and contrast of Democrats, which the other panelists have done a good job, can you explain why should a Black person consider being a part of the Republican Party?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to speak directly to the fans and to the chat room in answering this question, because you can get in and take over. You can get in and take over. Let me tell you guys, a lot of you guys in the chat room have been saying, hey, Mr. Research, I don't believe it, blah, 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 yak, yak, yak. Here's what you must understand. If you're not involved in something, this whole we need to do is dead. You can go take over your teachers union. You can go take over your city council. I got Vernon Jones not only kicked out, but he couldn't get reelected twice because I kept spending $1,200 on a website campaign to kill his name and all the dirt that he did in Decatur, Georgia, because he victimized his people. The anti-Black people who was running Decatur had it very nice and peaceful. There was a place called Recorder's Court. Wasn't nobody getting arrested unless you did something major. This Black guy comes along and uses his Black face as a Democrat, and within 1 year, he goes on an 8-year campaign of arresting his people, not the people doing dirt, people trying to get to work. This guy weaponized the police force to go around and run people's plates as they're trying to get to work to arrest them and get them tickets. The lines around Recorder's Court were ridiculous. And it was a Black person using a Black face that did that. So when you ask Mr. Research this question, Art, I'm going to put it back on the fans and the chat room. Stop talking about what we need to do. If you don't like Republicans, cool. Take over the Democrats in your area. If you don't like the Democrats. Cool. Be an independent and take over those people in your area. My cousin ran for city council. I know what it's about. I come from a family of people that's about trying to put their money on the table and make something happen. But we cannot do that, chat room, if we stuck on just hearing people talk. Because then the other people who are sticking together, the Indians, Pakistanis, everybody else, they're going to make those moves. And then you're going to be complaining about Indian supremacy and Latin supremacy. Not because they're better than you. It's just they put their money on the table and made it happen. That's my 2 minutes.
Okay. Sister Shirley?
I'm here.
Okay, you remember the question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Free enterprise. I'm going to come from a different perspective. The Republican Party is a conservative, or I'm a conservative Republican. So what does that mean? That means I believe in free enterprise. I believe in free market. I believe that we as individuals, as many of these gentlemen have already said so graciously, that we believe in self-empowerment. If you believe in self-empowerment, you need to be a Republican. If you want to impose upon government-imposed programs, and you're looking for a solution to come out of the Democratic Party and Democrat elected officials, well, 40 years of that, you can tell that you've gotten nothing from it. So the blessed part about it is that people like me, and I can say Mark, I've just known research for a short time frame, but me and Mark have go back over 20 years. We laid the groundwork so that Trump could get into office. We've been out there fighting so many times, it's unbelievable. So when people come in saying, oh, we're so excited or we're not excited, I would say be excited for yourself. Take the fact that you have technology and you have social media and you have innovative ways of doing things through apps. You have innovative ways of doing things through setting up your own website, different drop shipping. There's a lot of ways where you do not have to depend upon so much of the system of what you used to, of brick and mortar. You can utilize free enterprise. And so that is why it's so important right now to be a Republican, so that you can understand local, state, and federal. A lot of people don't understand that. So when you understand your local, state, and federal, there's a sense of accountability. But that grassroots and that railroad track had to be laid first so that you could have a president like Donald J. Trump. Many of us who have been on this, who are in this thread right now, can tell you we've met many elected officials. Meeting them doesn't mean anything. It's the execution of the application of that presidency or that congressional Congress that's in office at that time. But what you're learning now is self-empowerment and free enterprise, because the people, because of the consciousness of online, that we are able to have these conversations to move forward rapidly through understanding the data that is true about what we are. The Republican Party was the first party to give the African Americans the right to vote. The Republican Party was the party that actually implemented reparations. When we go back to Reconstruction and the Freeman Bureau, we have to understand that the reconstruction of this country, when it came to Lincoln before his death in 1865, was established to reassess African American people after the war. So it didn't happen because when Lincoln died, everything changed. And then, of course, you know, we moved into the Jim Crow era. But if we were to think in the now, if we think in the now, look, if you have any ideas of what you want to do or become, you can utilize the principles of the Republican Party. If you do not vote for President Trump in 2020, you're going to revert backwards. You're going to revert backwards to a party that doesn't think Black first, that doesn't think American first. This party is really focusing on, meaning the Democrat Party, in line saying that you're going to get reparations, which you're not. The Democrat Party wants to instill a factor of more government programs and illegal immigrants and immigrants to have a forefront on the front line. This party is about establishing roots within our community and going back to what we originated back from, which is family values, which is God and country first. And that grassroots that were laid by conservatives and Black conservatives like myself, so that we can have the president that we have today.
Okay, so just to remind people who we have on the panel, we have Afro Synergy, Derek, Mark, Mr. Research, and Shirley. Okay, and plus, I mean, is everybody okay with the time here? Or are we flowing, or it's worn out with this?
Let's roll.
Okay, here we go. You know, tighten them seatbelts, okay? All right. So, one of the popular sayings most of the time is that they try to say that the Republican Party is racist. Okay, I know you hear that. So that when you hear that, I mean, how do you think they came up with this? This observation. Was it something made up, or I mean, who was Afro Synergy? What's your take on that?
Well, prior to 1964-65, most African Americans, they were Republicans. Martin Luther King Jr. and many other African Americans, they were Republicans. Now, but when you have certain leaders, and it goes back to my previous answer that I had to your question about the Republican Party and parties and all. When you go back to that era in time, the mid 1960s, when you saw some individuals, certain individuals within the Republican Party, Barry Goldwater out of Arizona, and you saw others, and they were Republicans, and they were adamantly against certain things that related to the progress of African Americans. For example, some of them would be against the Civil Rights Bill, some of them in the Republican Party. So when you saw that happen, and you saw John F. Kennedy, who put on a sympathetic face to African American causes and issues, and John F. Kennedy being a Democrat, then lots of African Americans started looking at that and saying, well, look, we're getting beaten down in the street. If you were a part of the marches, Martin Luther King Jr. and many, many others who were marching at that time and being beaten, if you were a part of that, you're saying, well, look, I have a Republican over here who's saying this, and I have a Democrat over here who's saying this. Now, that does not mean that all Republicans were saying what Barry Goldwater was saying. But Barry Goldwater was a big voice. He ran for president. He was in the national limelight, in other words. So when you see that, African American people are a very people who look at things. They see things through their eyes. They are a very vision focused people. So when they saw that, then that brought about a huge change where they gravitated towards John F. Kennedy, not because John F. Kennedy was a Democrat. Once again, going back to your interests, John F. Kennedy was channeling those things that were of greater interest to African Americans than a Republican who so happened to be Barry Goldwater. He was just one of them at that time. So therefore, you saw that big switch, and then you had the assassination of I'm gonna be very brief here. Then you had the assassination of Kennedy. Then you had LBJ in there, and I'll have these Negroes voting, these niggers voting a Democrat for the next 100 years. Okay, so when you have that, I say once again that further substantiates what I indicated, is that instead of looking at party, we as African American people, we must look at our interests, which means that we have to have an agenda, okay? An agenda that contains what we're all about, what our interests are. Then we present that to the Democrat, the Republican, the Independent, the Libertarians. We present it to all of these members of all these parties because we're now promoting our interests. Now, this is also what other groups do. They're promoting their interests, not party interests. So we have to start looking at it that way. And the big problem is that Black people have been stuck on party, and that's the Democrat Party, instead of Black people's interests. All right, I'll close with that.
Okay, Brother Derek.
I agree to a certain extent. I think more or less I'll take it more to modern times. Let's talk about the modern brothers and sisters. I think what's going on here, we as a Black culture, and whether it's a generational curse or not, we have a tendency of I don't know if it's our egos or whatnot, of believing whoever's got the candy. And it seems like the Democrats this whole time have been giving candy. They give you a stroke your ego. It's just like the movie Get Out. You know what I mean? These are meant to be liberal whites in that movie, but people don't even realize it. And Black Americans love that movie, but don't realize the whites in that movie are liberal Democrats. That's why they're like, we voted for Obama twice. We have a situation where we as a people can't quite get a grip on this love affair with the Democrats that has far exceeded any benefit that it once had, if it had any to begin with. Like my brother said, Lyndon B. Johnson, with his statement about I'll have these Negroes voting Democrat for 55 years. I thought about this for so long. When they say racism, and I looked at it like this: when you look at Republicans and you look at the primary, how do people picture Republicans in the Black community? The white Bob Dole. When you look at the white Bob Dole, is he really racist, or is he just in his own effect mode? And what I mean by that is, we as a Black community are saying, look at Bill Clinton. He's pandering to me. He's playing the saxophone. Hillary's got hot sauce. Hillary's got this. And the Republican, they say, okay, Bob Dole, what are you going to do? And Bob Dole says, I'm offering you free enterprise and money. If you don't want it, I'm walking away. Oh, you're going to walk away from me and not care? You don't care about me? You're racist. And we have a tendency of doing that when the person doesn't really bend over backwards for us. It's very similar to the Catholic Church. When they're in America, they don't promote in America. You see commercials for Osteen, you see commercials. You don't see Catholic commercials. But at the end of the day, it's because the Catholics are like, look, if you want to go to hell by our standards, go to hell. But that doesn't mean we're racist or religiously against you. It's just basically we don't have the time to put up with it. And so I looked at the Republican Party, and we're talking about reasons why people may see this. I've looked at the traditional white Republican Party as racist toward a color. Yes, it's been green, not against Black people. It's basically like, if y'all Black folks aren't about this green money, then we're going to turn and walk the hell away, because we don't have time to fight. We're just about this green money. It's not really about you. But then the way the liberals will spin it is like, see, they turn away from you. They don't care about you. They're not willing to fight for you. Come over here and get some of these free turkeys on Thanksgiving. Come over here and get some of this stuff we got for you. And so our community has fallen hook, line, and sinker for that. You know what I mean? Whereas if we were more empowered, we would sit here and say, we have the 6th largest purchasing power in the world. If we just had a leader, then we could see that. But they've done a good job of keeping us from having a leader. They accidentally get shot every time we have one. You know what I mean? But if we put things together, we could see that. But the liberals have done a great job of keeping us lost and keeping us in a situation where we're fear-mongering everybody that isn't them.
Okay. So Brother Mark, why do you think that people come to this conclusion that the Republican Party is racist?
Well, primarily because, like the Democratic Party, we are. And I don't mean we as in me, but the truth of the matter is there's no institution in America that escapes the racist history of this country, not one. You cannot join an organization. I don't care if it's the church. I don't care if it's a government institution. I don't care if it's an academia. I don't care if it's religion. Certainly not government. Every institution in America is rooted in American racism. The fact that Americans believe that all the races in America are now Republicans, that's just naive. That's naive, and that is the Black intelligentsia, meaning, in my opinion, the Black Congressional Caucus, which is nothing more than a lobbyist group for wealthy Black people. That's just them giving the races in the Democratic Party cover. Mm-hmm. See, there's not enough Black folks in the Republican Party to sell out to where the races in the Republican Party actually can gain something by paying us off. They don't already paid off all the wealthy Black folks in the Democratic Party. And so now they provide cover for the races in the Democratic Party. And I bet you my last dime that racism in the Democratic Party is much more rampant than it is in the Republican Party. Because because of what President Bush called it. President Bush called it the soft bigotry of low expectations. See, liberal Democrats believe that Black folks need them to save our souls. They actually believe that we're incapable. Conservative, racist Republicans do what they do because they know that me and Derek can get out. They know we can bring thunder, lightning, wind, and rain. And they want to prevent us from doing it. Period. So racism is a reality. You know, the idea that racism doesn't exist, it's like on Sunday morning, the Oakland Raiders walking on the field and expecting that the San Francisco 49ers are going to allow them to score. It ain't going to happen.
Okay. Brother, Mr. Research.
All right, keep mine under 2 if I can. So we for you guys in the chat room and you guys listening, you fans, we failed you. I'm gonna put that on my age group. We should have dominated more. We should have reached back to you guys more and gave you better information. We should have did less preaching and been more about what benefits you, especially you Black sons, so that you could take an anchor the way a lot of other nationalities have done. So I apologize to you fans and to you people in the chat room. We older Black conservatives, in my view, and we older conservatives, period, we failed you because we didn't do what was necessary to make sure you had a foothold. We fell in love with preaching only. But that's my view. That's just my view. Let me top off also that Goldwater was a libertarian. He was a coward who couldn't make it. He couldn't grow libertarian his party, so he ran to Republicans. Same thing with the coward Reagan. Reagan was a very popular Democrat who couldn't make it, got on public TV and begged Republicans, if you'll have me. And those type of people came to the Republicans and polluted it. In addition to the Australian Fox News, who came over and brought their Roger Ailes style of we're going to make it about pure white. It's even in the you see it in the television series now, where they're trying to reenact what some of the things Roger Ailes said. So for those of you who laughing about that, that is a documented thing. The last thing I'll say is that you guys in the chat room and fans, if you don't like what the anti-Blacks are doing, change it. Make some of these videos about dating into videos about Mitch McConnell. Make some of these videos about women into videos about policy. And then you won't let the anti-Blacks win. But it has become racist. It was the Southern strategy because they hated the Rockefeller strategy, because the Rockefellers were about working people that included Blacks. And for those who are interested in the documented reason, you look up the Southern strategy. That's my time.
Okay, thank you. Thank everyone for try to stick in with the 2-minute thing, because we still got some things to cover, and I want to hear as much as possible before everything is wrapped up. Sister Shirley, it is your time.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry, I had my phone on mute. It's interesting. We'll always deal with race in America. Race is something that will continue. That was before we were born. It will continue after we were born. It's just innate. There's only one race, the human race. There's different cultures of people. I always say that there's one race, the human race. But how those cultures approach each other, how those cultures interact with each other, now that's a different story. Or the history, or the historical ramification of those cultures, as these men have said beautifully before me, and how we as African Americans who are descendants of slaves were brought here as commodity goods, trades, and service. We weren't brought here as immigrants or illegal immigrants. I can say for my own people, I can't speak for everyone on this panel. So in saying that, you kind of know where you are and who you are and what you're dealing with. So this is the fact. If we don't understand the local, state, and federal operations of government, then we will not evolve as a culture of people. And many of our people, let's say we put parties aside, Republican and Democrat and Independent and Green Party or whatever party you're with. If you don't have the principles of the basics of saying, who is dealing with my school board, my water board, who's my senator, my congressional leaders, my congressman, you may not ever have access to the president of the United States. You may never be able to get into the White House because presidents change every 4 years. If it's every 4 years or every 8 years. But you know what doesn't change is that a lot of these people in Congress who have tortured us for the last 40 years, that we are not torturing them back by the power of the vote and the power of knowing your grassroots. I started Urban Game Changers so that we could hold elected officials accountable as well as ourselves. Urban Game Changers Conference is going to be amazing. A lot of men you hear on here, Mr. Research, you hear Afro Synergy News, hopefully Mark might be interested in coming. But the reason I put this event together that we've done in the past and now is that we talk about the current relevancy of where we are as a people, especially with the opportunity of technology and under a president that believes in business entrepreneurship. So if we're going to be focusing on race and racism and hatred will always exist. It's the energy that you put into it. So keep in mind, you have to think about your distribution of energy and reciprocity. Put your energy into something that's going to add value to you. Utilize the principles in the presidency of what he's offering, the policies, talk about the economic zone opportunity. But there's other things out there that this president has done great. Has he still a lot of ways to go? Absolutely, especially within the Black community. He came out talking about the New Deal. We are still waiting for the New Deal to come forward, and many of us have addressed that issue. But that comes from us pressing the top as well as the bottom to interact in our best interest. We do not understand that these people are going to do what does for them. But in order for us to get something out of any level of government, we have to come united and put our differences aside and understand what we can get out of government. Government is when we unite as a whole. Okay.
So we got a few more and then we'll wrap it. But for those who are watching still, we have Brother Afro Synergy and we got BMT up in here.
We have, what's going on?
Yeah, we've been expecting you. We got appreciate you coming, brother. And we got Brother Derek once again, Brother Mark, Mr. Research, and Sister Shirley. So, because I can't go over all these questions. You already saw them. I can't do them all. But I want to skip to this one though. To your knowledge, what is Trump's agenda for Black America, if there is one? Let's go with Afro Synergy.
Well, what is Trump's agenda? Well, Trump's agenda is whichever one among us is talking to him about. We know about the prison reform. We know about that. We know indirectly about the agenda that relates to illegal immigrants, illegal aliens being here. And Trump has said that adversely hurts African Americans more than any other group. So that helps African Americans immensely right there. But with regards to Trump's agenda should be our agenda. That's why I say that we have to have an agenda. That's why about a year ago, I produced the African Americans National Political Agenda. We have to have an agenda to which we can hand over to various people who are running for Congress, who are running for president, and they have a check mark. Do you support this? Yes or no? Okay. That's the report card. That's a check card, the checklist. And then that is what helps us determine whether or not we're going to support them financially and support them with our vote. So this is what we have to have. Trump's agenda should be what our agenda is, not what Trump decides the Black agenda is to be, but what we decide it is to be. And that's what part of this meeting in West Virginia next month is going to be about. Okay, with Urban Game Changers. That's part of what it's going to be about. We have to establish what the agenda is going to be. We have to establish even legislation. We can produce the legislation ourselves and submit it to the House, submit it to the Senate, submit it to the executive branch of government. Okay, and let them chew on it. Let them bang it around and all. We have to do that. So it's not what they They. No. I don't use that word they that much. I talk about what we're going to do, what we must do. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate you. Brother BMT.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, brother Art?
All righty. You came on the tail end, but the question is,
Yeah.
if you do know of any of it, what is Trump's agenda for Black America?
Simple. It's more so a jump starting a heartbeat. Let's be for real, the Black agenda's been dead. Well, most of I've heard from a lot, we've been watching from the old to the young, and there's a big disconnection. The vein has been severed, where we don't want nothing to do with the agenda because the dream that they have of the older ones, the boomers, we weren't included in it. We weren't included in the deal. It was more so of, well, I got shitted on, or I had this stuff happen from NAM and different other stuff. So, you know what? Y'all gonna have to figure y'all shit out for yourselves like we did. So it wasn't like you didn't leave us a legacy. So now, it's like I call it the lost children, or the lost boys, the Lord of the Flies. It's a carnivorous civilization that we're in right now, and so much as that's why he says, listen, I've been around y'all long enough. I know y'all want a equal fair share, but you're gonna have to fight for it. It's no different than a corporation. You want to get to the top, you're gonna have to fight and prove that you have the primal instinct to show. You want reparations? Well, show me that you can take your own materials and build up something viable to make yourself a wanted player in society. You want to have the talking points of talk about civil rights. Why just be civil rights? Why just stop there? Why not actually go get all your rights? But see, whenever they ask for certain blacks to come to the White House and sit down, and not to be taking no damn pictures and say red wave and all that dumb shit, but actually go there and say, hey, we have this formatted plan. We have this bill. We've already had this amount of money generated where we're doing it and actually implementing in this area with the school, with this and that. So we're actually self-sustaining ourselves, doing our own thing. But what we would like to see, you see, that's how it is whenever you go to a bank and you want to talk to them about a New Deal plan. They want to know, so what are you doing so far? What have you grown together? We keep trying to talk to him like he's a politician. He's a business man making business transactions. So it would only make sense whenever I see him talk, everything he's been doing has been centered around business. You talk about legal immigration, that deals with blacks. You're at the lowest bottom totem pole with the illegal immigrants right now. Because most of the guys who get out of any type of system or child support or any kind of thing, or even when it comes down to women too, they take under the table jobs. So guess what? If we knock out those type of people, guess what? That means they have to look at you. When we start to look at other stuff when it comes to the Reform Act for housing and different other stuff, we keep worrying more so about, oh my God, justice, no peace. Well, guess what? Get your own justice. Fight your own goddamn shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's already giving back to the colleges, start saying, hey man, okay, we're gonna get this money to the colleges, but y'all need to start telling me, y'all need to start fixing up some of those loans and stuff. Well, you're racist. Well, guess what? Congratulations, I get it. I'm racist. Who gives a flying goddamn? Like, I want you to understand this. Like, the world, if some people have lived outside the U.S., it's racist. They can give a damn or hoot nanny if you black. I've been called Nigeger in Dubai multiple times, but that's how they see me. South America, they call me that to my face. Like, they don't care. They only ask, what can you do for me? That's why they said it plainly, ask not what you can do, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. In other words, they're saying, yo, like, whatever you got that you can bring makes you valuable where you can talk your shit at the table. But the thing about it is we keep waiting for some guy in a blonde hair, white-eyed Jesus to fix our shit. And then when we talk about this, we shall overcome Wakanda shit, nobody takes it serious, but they're like, okay, watch. As soon as they talk about paychecks and reparations, they start doing division.
Okay, I appreciate it, BMT.
I'll stop there, Art. My bad. I'm sorry, Art. My bad, Art. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We family up in this bad boy. We family. Okay, so we got brother Derek. Okay, tackle this one if you can.
Well, you know, this is God. Definitely, God is in the building tonight. God is moving in this thread, because both the brothers before me hit the nail on the head with where I was going to go. Having been in the White House, having talked to Pastor Scott, having talked to Kareem, the first step back, different things of that nature. What I can tell you is Donald Trump is a white businessman from New York. We shouldn't. Why are we sitting here asking him the questions of when is he going to clean Chicago, when we had a brother from Chicago in the White House 8 years that never spoke on it in a press conference once? Donald Trump is going to do what he does, and that is outsource this job to whoever is G enough, whoever smart enough, who's ever key enough to pick it up. So that means if you're sitting at home right now and you're saying to yourself, God has put it in me to do this for the black community, like there's a will and a way to get to the White House, because I got there without any credential to be there from politics. And you have your idea, just like the brother before me just said, you have your plan. It could get done if it makes him look good. That is his agenda, to look good at the end of the day. And his agenda at the end of the day, we shouldn't be, and I'm hearing a lot of black folks with a lot of ego saying, well, the only reason he did the prison reform bill is so he would look good. So what? That's the whole, I thought that was the whole point of doing things, is to look good. That's the whole point. Get your ego out of here. And here's the thing.
Just 1 second, brother. I want people to understand what you said earlier, because you said Don Jr. I don't think people understand that Don Jr. is Donald Trump's son, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you met him.
Yeah, Don Jr. He's heavily in a lot of the stuff that I did with Turning Point, and so I met him multiple times. You know what I mean? And he's more rogue. He's actually more rogue than his father on social media. Like, he's taken his father's thing and went to the next level. Like, he'll be on social media cussing because he's just pushing the bounds, because this is what's working. See, what one thing you cannot tell about the Trumps is that they're not winners. They see what's working and then they capitalize on it and they keep going with it. And so that's what we talked earlier about winning. And that's what I'm saying right now. Donald Trump, his agenda is to win. And part of his agenda right now that people need to be looking at is, part of his agenda is to make Barack Obama look bad as possible. And here's the thing. If Barack Obama had no love for any of you for 8 years, even if he did, we should be capitalizing on that. Everything we should be doing, we go to the White House and say, hey, you know what's going to make Obama look really bad? If we free all these black people, as long as we win, I don't understand why people are not using this. But right now, people are too concerned with what Beyonce's tweeting and telling them not to do. They're too concerned because Steph Curry is saying he's keeping it real by not going to the White House. Now, my question for Steph Curry is this, and I've tweeted him, he hasn't responded. My question is this, brother, how are you keeping it real when Martin Luther King knew Lyndon Johnson had racist tendencies, but he was in the White House still because he knew he was the only way in? So my question is, if you're that real, why aren't you going to the White House with your Instagram to tell Donald Trump off? Oh, no, you're keeping it real by going to your shiny house on the hill while the rest of these 15 million kids live in poverty. Yeah, that's a nice picture right there. That picture. So yeah, when that picture circulates around the hood in the old days, and then people are basically like, yeah, we know that dude. Then things change like in the hood. So that's why. But back to what I was saying. We as a people have to get off of this ego stuff, and we have to win. My brother here said it earlier. He's like, me and Derek gonna be out here winning. We have to mash and win. And anybody on this thread right now, I guarantee you, anybody on this thread could bring an idea to President Trump, and if it makes him look key, it don't matter how he is going to try to do it. But in retrospect, if it has to do with Obama and you brought that same idea, he may be like, now, wait a second. That might actually uplift the community that we need to stay suppressed because we need to harvest those votes. So I don't need you doing that in Chicago because you might actually change something, and we need to harvest those Democratic votes. So if it's Obama, unless it has to do with, he passed laws for the LGBT, and he passed laws for illegals, but I didn't see nothing for the group that built this country. So at the end of the day, like I said, that's the difference between him and Trump. Trump's agenda is for the black community to win as long as the black community wins for him, period.
Okay, brother. So we're going to go to Mark.
Repeat the question for me.
To your knowledge, what is Trump's agenda for Black America?
Well, going back to what's been already said, and I'm going to keep it short. It doesn't matter what Trump's agenda is for America. It matters what our agenda is and how we sell it to Trump. That's what everybody is saying right now. You see, presidents do not drive policies. People drive policies. Presidents adopt policies based on what Derek just said, what makes them look good. I don't care if it's Trump, Obama, or whoever else. This is the way our system works. That's how our system works. It has nothing to do with what Trump's agenda is. Trump's agenda, like Synergy said, is going to be and should be dictated to him by you and I, period.
Okay. Mr. Research.
All right. So again, speaking to the chat room, somebody got their mic real loud. Speaking to the chat room and speaking to people who are watching this. So a couple of things, like everybody said, if we as the black sons and daughters, I can't get around that echo, whatever. Thank you, Mark, or whoever that is. Anyway,
I don't think it's me because I just turned mine down.
Okay.
So somebody has to just go mute. If everybody can mute while everyone talks, then you won't hear anything. I just mute myself out.
Okay, I just muted myself out too.
All right. So, well, I'll just roll with it. Okay, so I can't go. Forget it.
So we have it's between Derek, Mark, and Research because they weren't you guys weren't muted. So how about now? It's still echoing.
Hey, try muting yourself for a minute, Art.
Okay. Let me see.
Test 1 2. Oh, it was you, Art. Hello? Yeah, that was Art. So anyway, very quickly, it's kind of like what everybody else said. What liberal black people suffer from is not knowing politics and policy. And this was evidence when the Black Lives Matter dude tried to speak to Hillary Clinton about how to pass the bill, and Hillary Clinton had to basically give this dude a basic high school economics class. I'm just a bill, well, I'm only a bill. Something he should have saw in a cartoon, but he had no idea. So the problem that chat room and fans who are listening, what y'all got to understand is you got to be able to compete in these conversations. You see, Black YouTube is poison, and Black YouTube will mislead you with some of these arguments that you hear on some of these panels. This is a very polite panel, but some of these arguments are from people who are not researching the stuff they say. And then you guys go watch that crack addicted buffoonery, and then you think you've been informed. You got to know policy so you can get on stage with your mayonnaise cousins and compete. Let's put up a couple of other examples. Like the brother spoke about Obama. Okay, Obama, his numbers were great, probably the third greatest numbers ever, because he had to undo what Dick Cheney did. People like to forget Dick Cheney took a surplus and made it disappear and sent a no-compete contract to his former company, Halliburton. Stuff like that, homeboy had to repair. Nobody's going to be able to kill me on debates and documentation because I don't sit up here and make speeches. I give you stuff that you can actually go research, to the fans and to the chat room. The second thing is Obama had 3 situations that could have benefited Black people, but Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell put a stop to it every time. The only thing he was able to sneak through was the one thing for family child support, as far as helping people who were outside parents to get some type of legal aid. There was some finances going to that. Again, it's all documented. The other, but greater than that, he is right, and the other gentlemen are right, that everything is optics. Everything is about what you see. When you out there in the hood, it ain't the dude that's selling the most and doing the most. It's the dude who you respect the most, and he might not lift a finger. The same thing applies in politics. What we need to do is walk up to Trump. Hey, look, check this out, man. I represent the Black Sons. My name is Mr. Research. If we can get you to support the EEOC and just make a speech, even accidentally, about how you're thinking about putting more money behind the EEOC to help Black men get stop getting blocked on the human resource level. That's something Democrats are not talking about. So even if he just go mention it and don't follow through, it still does a great thing for optics, because what happens 2 years later, somebody heard it, and when they get in the Senate, they take up those type of bills. That's how it works. So optics are everything, you guys. It doesn't matter whether you like this dude or not. What you need to do is go to your local city council and vote out some of the people who've been sitting there all these years, because they're used to you complaining. Last thing, like I said before, man, a lot of these former Democrats and libertarians, they done snuck in this Republican Party. They done snuck in and they done brought their sinister ways with them. When you look at Fox News, it's the same thing. Black, 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 black. Because like they said before, some of the gentlemen on the panel, it's about family and money. You guys think these folks don't like you. Part of that is true. But they want to be able to know that you making bread like they making bread. And when you're not doing that, then our cousins sometimes are just scared just for the sake of being scared. And if you're not making moves like they making moves, they start thinking, oh man, what is he up to? Oh my God, is that Afro Synergy? Oh my God, why does he have a hat? Oh, is that Derek? Oh, Jesus Christ. They start focusing on stuff that ain't even real. Start making this bread. Start caring about your kids being their managers, being employed, being up under them, and you'll see a better response out of some majority of our white cousins.
Okay, Sister Shirley.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So, to your knowledge, what is Trump's agenda for Black America?
So in 2016, as I stated before, I was the surrogate and the delegate for President Trump. I've met with President Trump. I know and I've talked to Tiffany Trump, who's also from California. So I'm very involved with the state and with the party and with the feds for a long time. I put a link, if someone doesn't take it down, I put a link of the plan that originated in 2016 with President Trump. That plan was called Trump's New Deal for Black America, with a plan for urban renewal. And he had different points of views. And one was, it had to do with great education through school choice, safe community, it had to do with equal rights, had to do with taxes, financial reform. And it goes on and so forth, and dealing with immigration within our community. That was the agenda at the very beginning, before he became Trump, before he became president. I met with President Trump's team at Trump Tower prior to him becoming the president, when I went up in December 2016. All this is documented. You can Google my name. You can Google me going up to Trump Tower with Omarosa. And when I spoke to her personally, I said, what is this agenda? She says, our agenda is to empower Black people. That's what she said at that time. In 2017, President Trump met with the Black Caucus. Now, you guys know the Black Caucus ain't gonna do nothing for us and never have. And when she put President Trump before the Congressional Black Caucus, they presented to him a thing they call the New Deal. No, we have a lot to lose. Now, I did a long video on this. You can go to my YouTube channel, Shirley Husar, and you can watch We Have a Lot to Lose, or not, sorry, look up Omarosa Buffoonery. That's how I named this video. Omarosa Buffoonery. Okay, so I told you he became president. That we were the first people on the agenda for him, by the way. People don't remember this, but I do. We were the first people in January 2017. When he met with Omarosa and the Buffoonery clan, They said, well, we have a lot to lose, but we're willing to listen and hear what he has to say. We realize that our people are in crisis, blah, blah, blah. They came back later on and they said, we don't want to work with Mr. Trump. They tweeted out, the Congressional Black Caucus did, saying that they no longer want to work with the president or President Trump, and that the Black people don't want anything from Trump. So at this point, we were at a dilemma, because I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen now? Because she put these crazy nuts before the president, which is the Congressional Black Caucus. Then she's working with Daryl Scott on this diversity coalition, when we know that we need to deal with the interests of the Black people as a whole. Daryl Scott is part of the diversity coalition. I'm not caring about diversity. I live in diversity. I live in a war zone. No one understands what I'm going through unless you live in the state of California. I can't listen to nobody tell me about immigration, because you don't live here. You don't know how Blacks are being emasculated. You don't know how Black people are at 6%. You just come here and leave and think you're going to get a check. That don't work in my books. But I will tell you that what has not happened from President Trump is an agenda. The Latino coalition, though, they doing really good. Trump has worked with them. Trump has worked with the Chinese people with the economic opportunity program that he did for the Chinese and the Pacific Islanders. Trump did a deal where he did the missing island. No, I think it would have to do with the, the people in Alaska. He did a missing day where he allocated $300 million for 2 years with them. With the Latino community, they've been rolling ever since Obama. In 2015, they were able to acquire $125 billion from Wells Fargo to empower their communities and to work with the realtors of the Hispanic community. With the Chinese, they've also been able to do with the Pacific Islanders, when they were able to advance a generation of immigrants and illegals of Chinese through Paper Sun. So I have a long history of knowing what other cultures have gotten, and we have gotten anything. Where we're feeling right now is that the Blacks who have access to President Trump are not working in our best interest. What they're doing is talking about economic zones, especially when I hear these pastors. These pastors are not realtors. These pastors are not developers. I graduated from USC Financial Real Estate Development. I've been a realtor for 20 years. I understand that program. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting at SC because I served on that board for 10 years. So you're not talking to someone that's not unfamiliar with real estate. But that economic zone opportunity has nothing to do with religion or God. It has to do with understanding that you need to have money, and it gives you a tax exemption. And that is open to everyone, not just Black people. What I believe that President Trump should put on the table, and I'm gonna end it like this, what we should be doing is what everyone has said, especially Mark and especially Mr. Research and T. West. We can't we can't just take what they give us. We have to tell them what we want. The ones who have the power and the access to the president, and I know them and they know who I am, and we don't see each other on the same eye because they're all happy to get their chicken dinners and their photo ops with their red hats, but they're not understanding policies and principles that can affect our community. And until we get something on the table regarding legislation, like T. West said, regarding a proposal or basically have a bill or something written in our best interest, we are not going to move forward. It took an executive order in order to implement, listen to what I'm saying, and I'll close on this. It took an executive order in order to implement emancipation. Emancipation didn't come through Congress. Emancipation came through an executive order. Obama didn't do any great executive orders for Black people, and neither has President Trump. And I believe not because of the fault of Trump, because I believe he's a brilliant and a wonderful president. I believe because of those who are adhere and have rights to him are greedy, selfish bastards who will not open up doors for anybody else but themselves.
Okay, so I went in my refrigerator and I didn't know I had it, so I got some raw meat up in there. I found it, and so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw it in this cage and run out. So this is gonna be the final question. It's gonna be a doozy at this panel. I'm gonna throw that word out here: reparations. We want to find out. I'm not even gonna ask anything specific. I'm just saying reparations.
Let me go.
Ooh, okay, hook it up. Let's see what you got. Let me run.
All right, so let me start off this way because I got to get up out of here. Reparations is simply this. I would love to see the Black people stand up and tell the Italians who got reparations from America, hey, get that back. We're against Black people having that and Black people having a study. So I'm going to be consistent to you Italians and come into your Italian space and tell you that you shouldn't be talking like this. No, the anti-blacks are not going to do that. They're only going to have that conversation as it relates to blacks. Let me also go to the anti-blacks and say, hey, can you go over to the Polish people who got put in Palestine back in 1940, 42, and tell them all the money you've been getting year after year, give that back. Because we as anti-black speakers, we go to the black people and tell them that we don't believe in reparations. It's stupid to even have a study. And you Polish people, I'm coming into your space and giving that back. I'm saying the realest thing ever, because people who are against this conversation don't want to acknowledge that it's happened before. But what do we do in law? We say if you have a precedent in any court, St. Louis, Missouri, we're going to use that in New York and New Jersey. But when you try to talk to some of these people who are not researched, and I'm not talking down to them, please don't get me wrong. If you have a different viewpoint, that's cool. But a lot of these anti-blacks with black faces cannot articulate their point past a, man, that's stupid. It don't even make sense, because they want to kill something that's a discussion. Now, at this point, all we're talking about is a study. It's not even no money attached to it, because most bills start with a study. So it's like, I don't even understand the energy of some of the people using their black face to speak against something that's just a talking point at this point. Last thing, I don't know why I say last thing when I always got more stuff, but, but you know, got to throw some comedy in there. But the other thing is that even with this panel has been very polite, articulate. We've addressed our point to the public and not to each other. We're not trying to defame each other's points, which is great and outstanding. But some of the anti-blacks will go over to another section to where we can't debate them, to where we can't confront them. So as Mr. Research at Ask a Classy Black Man Gmail, if anyone of you people listening to this are trying to go hide and make some anti-black comments, don't hide. Open yourself up for some type of conversation. I'm not going to hit you with ad hominem. I'm going to talk about the topic, and let's see if you can stay consistent. When we talk about what happened at the White House, that happened a lot of times under Obama where black people was there. But the silly thing that Obama did, he didn't publicize it. There's a lot of stuff that happens that that dude did totally wrong. But like I said before, Paul Ryan stopped a bunch of stuff. Mitch McConnell stopped a bunch of stuff. That's documented. But we will try to pretend that it isn't. So reparations, black people, let us have a conversation that the Italians had. And if you don't like it, please go to the Italians in their Italian spaces and tell them to get the money back. And while you're at it, please go to the Polish people, because they're not Israelites. They're not Israel. They got put there after Hitler. That's documented. I know young people don't like researching, but it's documented. Go to those Polish people and say, you know what? This money we give y'all year after year, you guys are supposed to be our ally. What are you actually allying us with? How do the black sons and daughters benefit from giving you this money every year? Why do our candidates come over here and kowtow to you every year? But see, the anti-blacks don't want to do that. They want to hide in black space. So that's what I want to say about that. I will continue listening, but I'm going to jet out and grab some food. Thank you very much. And hopefully we can have this panel again, because I'm quite sure some people are going to try to do something similar to what the great Art has done. And it's not going to be polite. They're going to make a bunch of anti-black comments from the safety of their YouTube page. But come on this collection of conservatives and bring your intellectualism here. Let this be the staple for black conservatism and black conservative talk. Nobody's dissing each other. Nobody's insults. We let our topics speak for themselves, and we let the public decide.
Okay, I appreciate it, Mr. Research. Thank you for coming with us. I'll just let whoever wants to come in next. I'm not even going to choose a person.
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
My thing is this: I come from a little bit of a different place, and Sheila Jackson was the first one who told me to tell all my people to check out her reparations package, and that was what Black folks needed to look at, and this, that, or the other. And my thing is this: growing up on the West Coast, the South Side, I'm very familiar with pimp tactics. And to me, the way this whole thing has been presented is pimp tactics. When they say, oh, we want to do this for reparations, we want to do this for other, something 300-400 years ago, we want to research it. I see something to where if we start researching this, who knows how many years it takes? Who knows how many white people are actually related to slaves? Who knows how many how this thing gets divvied up, how this thing's whatever. It's so muddy that it almost reeks of the man who tells a girl, I want to buy you a Mercedes, I want to buy you a Ferrari, I'm putting it in there. And then the loan officer says no because it's impossible. And he goes back to her and says, well, see, I would have got you all that, so give me credit for it, but you knew it was never going to happen. So my opinion is, in reality, what I told Miss Jackson Lee is I said, look, why don't we talk about something tangible, Miss Jackson Lee? Like, if you really want to talk about something in that world about benefiting Black people, why don't we talk about putting forth something for the way Black people were treated from 1920 to 1964, the Civil Rights Bill? Because one, this is a nation of laws. And one big thing we'll have there is we actually have people alive that can testify. We have people alive that have seen their parents hung. We have people alive that have seen their parents get water hosed. These things can legally stand up in a court of law, and we can sit here and have damages. So it can be a legal precedent. When we start talking about things like, well, slavery, this, that, or the other, all of a sudden, as this thing varies on, you'll have people fighting against it saying, a fourth or half of the Black community is actually related to the slaves that sold them into slavery. So who actually gets what? It becomes so muddy that it never happens. But again, I told you guys before, I'm about winning. And to me, the fastest way to win is to sit here and say, okay, I want to solidify this down to the time frame of 1920 to 1964, so we can actually do this legally and make it happen for real. Because the other way, it just seems like a nice dog and pony show. That they'll find a way to go around it. They'll find a way to say, well, white people are related. They'll find a way to say that, what about the octoroons, quadroons? Like, they'll find a way to just come up with so much stuff. And you could be looking at a decade before you even get any type of restitution or thought of restitution. Whereas I could sit here and say, well, look, my grandfather he's alive, and he watched his father get hung. He deserves damages the same way. If I spill a cup of hot coffee on my ass at McDonald's, I'm getting a check. So let's talk about those damages that could occur. And most Black people on this thread, most Black people alive, have somebody alive between 1920 and 1964 that could restitute those damages. I'm just throwing those numbers out, but you could pick whatever time frame, as long as it's more realistic to a court of law, to where we can actually have people testify and claim damages for real. That's just my thought.
Okay, so who wants to tackle this one next?
Well, I go back and forth on this issue, but I'll tell you what, let's put aside the financial issue, because that is a conversation that will take much more time in terms of being able to create any kind of national synergy that will lead to a decision. But one thing is for certain that we can discuss in the beginning of this discussion is that we as a people have been done wrong in this country. And as a result of it, our children do not have an inherent understanding of their own greatness. Now, one of the things that I enjoyed about President Barack Obama's being elected president in 2008. Of course, I did not vote for him the first time. I did not vote for him the second time, and I did not agree with nothing he said or did at all. But in 2007, my grandson was born, January 29th, 2007. And for the entire time, for the entire first 8 years of my grandson's life, the most powerful man in the world was a well-spoken, well-dressed, good father, good husband, whose skin color was similar to his. If you can't see the positiveness in that imagery, then I don't know what to say to you. So I would love to focus on something that might be easier to get done. I want Jesus back. Jesus was not blue-eyed. He didn't have no gold hair. I was in Israel 2 years ago, and when I went to the place where the Sermon on the Mount was given, I refused to walk in the building, because as I was walking in, there was a life-size portrait of Jesus Christ. And I said, no, I'm not doing white Jesus. I'm simply not doing white Jesus. And so Jesus Christ, I want Jesus back. I want a national movement that will restore Jesus Christ in his natural existence. Dark skin, kinky hair, big nose, full lips, because I want my grandson to know, I want his children to know, and I want his children's children to know that they are inherently capable of greatness.
Okay. So who wants this one? I said we down to 2 more people. Afro Synergy.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, they tried it in the courts. Now I'm going to use the word they this time, because they, us, it was some of us. We tried it in the court. We first took it to the courts with regards to reparations. And the judge told these brothers and sisters who brought it before him and at the court, the judge said, look, this is out of the jurisdiction of the courts. You must take this to Congress. You must take it to Congress and the president. All right. So that's where we are. That's where we are right now. So about taking it to the courts, no. You can always take a grievance for those who are living right now. You can always do that. You can always file a lawsuit if you got the money. You can do that. And people do that for whatever. They can do it for any forms of discrimination that has happened to them. You can do all of that, and it has been done. But when we start talking about the upliftment of the collective, slavery was a collective act, an evil act that was done collectively upon a people, not individuals. Not just my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, grandmother, and all, but a collective as a people, as a group. So we have to think in the, not in the independent way right here with this, but we have to think in the collective way with this. So we take it to Congress. We have legislation for it. Now, when you start talking about a study, the studies have already been done. There's a lot of information already out there. Now, this is where I come to the we instead of they. No, not they, we. We compile the studies. We include and source that within the legislation that we produce, not they, we. And then we give it to them so that they can ponder it, look it over, mark it up, do whatever they need to do with it. And then we'll deal with the aftermath of that. Now, when we start talking about the involvement, who was involved in the profiteering with slavery, with the Jim Crow, with the discrimination, with the land grant acts that made pale-skinned Americans very, very wealthy in this country, but left out the very group, that collective that actually built the great wealth from this country. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. That was the song of Billy Preston. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So what brought America from nothing to something? It was the agriculture area. It was bringing the best farmers, stealing them from Africa, bringing them here so that they could farm the crop and all these cash crops and earn huge profits. And then from the agricultural revolution, that wealth was then put into the industrial revolution. That wealth was then put into the computer technology revolution. That wealth is now being put into the nanotechnology revolution and being sold out because manufacturers and all where that money went, all those manufacturing jobs, most of them went overseas, went to other countries, so being sold out. So, but that wealth, there was a promise made by the U.S. government. But the U.S. government also profited from slavery. They profited from the taxation of slavery. They profited from tariffs related to the slave trade. They profited from all of that. But there was a promise made. The 40 acres and the mule, Freeman's Bank, those are all promises. Every last one of them they reneged on. They sabotaged all of that. They sabotaged. Let's bring it on up to today, because some people don't want to deal with history, but you don't have the contemporary unless you have a history, unless you have a foundation. So let's deal with the contemporary. In the contemporary, we have the redlining, not just in the South, but in San Francisco, in Oakland, California, the redlining by the banks. We have discrimination, rabid discrimination against Black people in this country. That is still going on in this country. But the U.S. government promised, they promised, that's a documented promise, that we will give you, after the Civil War was over, 40 acres and a mule. General Sherman, 40 acres and a mule. Jesuits assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Andrew Johnson becomes president, a Democrat, by the way. He becomes president. He reneges on that promise, and then eventually the Freeman Bank, it collapses due to mainly white men who are within the Freeman Bank, okay? It collapses. So these are promises broken. So we have it, it's documented. And now when we start talking about the mixing and all about who's Black, who's white, those things are easily solved. We will do the heavy lifting. We will be the ones who work that out. That can be worked out within a few months, a whole program for that. Because when you start looking at destitution, when you start looking at descendants of those who came out of slavery, most of those people, in some way or another, they will be destituted, if not financially, mentally destituted, because slavery, chattel slavery, over generations and generations and generations, that affected people genetically. It went into the genes. That's why, another reason why you have so much killing among Blacks in this country today. All of that is the result of slavery, of Jim Crow, of lynching, of losing things, being burned out. Your homes, you build Black Wall Street, you build Rosewood, you build many other, hundreds of other Black communities across this country, and you're burned out. You get tired of starting over and over and over again. You have new groups that come into America from other countries, immigrant groups who come in here. They don't experience any of that. They never experienced any of that. The only group of people who experienced that over generations were African Americans. So we have a good case, and we are the ones who must push that forward. When let me say this and then I'm done. When Mitch McConnell said that, no, you've already gotten your reparations, or affirmative action was your reparations, or Barack Obama was your reparation. And Barack Obama, his family was just like my family. His family owns slaves also. Okay? When they say things like that, that means that we are, in fact, moving forward. Because before, you would never have a Mitch McConnell, a Republican, having that conversation, having a press conference, and using the word reparations. Even Donald Trump used the word reparations. And Donald Trump said exactly what I said he was going to say. And I had said before Trump said it, if it ever comes up to Trump, Trump will use the word interesting. And that was one of the first words that Trump said, interesting. In other words, he did not totally dismiss it. Okay? So we have a job to do. We, not they, we got a job to do. I'm done.
Okay. And Shirley, you have the last one on this one.
Reparations. Reparations is a term and used for the Democrats to acquire votes for 2020. Reparations have never been part of their agenda. They've been elected officials, meaning Congress, for 20, 30, 40 years, and they've never cared about putting forth a legislation that's going to work in our best interests. But if we talk about reparations in its truest form, reparations is first and foremost for African American descendants of slaves, not Black people, not immigrants, not Black people whose children came from Jamaica, Africa, and then they hopped on the train. Reparations, as far as going back to the Civil War, not 1920, we have to go back to the Civil War. We have to go back to 1865, because that year was very potent. And T. West explained that year to you, where Lincoln got assassinated. Then the Democrat vice president took over. Then he pulled it from underneath the rug, because the land and the food and goods and trades and services that were never able to be given to African American people was supposed to be distributed towards us, but it never got distributed. It got reverted back to the white slave owners. But the question among the generation today is, well, why do we have to go back and focus on slavery? We're not focusing on slavery. We're focusing on the fact that you have an inherited right to a foundation that was laid by the blood of the ground that you walk upon. And our event, Urban Game Changers Conference, we have the data, and me and T. West have been working together, as well as Mr. Research. We have the data, how you can research to see if you are a descendant of slaves. We also have the information where you can take with you to take it to the next level, so that you have a passport that you deserve your rights from compensation. So I don't like to use the word reparations more than compensation, because there's many things that we should do that has not been doing. Someone said in the chat room, which is true, there's a point where you have to think about, do we have to sue the federal government? That's just a thought, I'm telling you, because we do have legal repercussion towards what was done to us. They have calculated us and pulled the rug out, Black Wall Street, like we said before, when we talk about the Civil War, which they said they were going to give us, when we talk about Jim Crow and the land that we didn't get and how those Black people were killed, we talk about now in civil rights in the 60s, where you now have everybody claims to be a minority, the white woman, the gay man, the lesbian, the transgender, everyone's claiming on our backs, meaning the laws that were allocated towards us. And until we come together to understand the perspective of these rights, and that we have the rights to own our own rights, then we're not going to move forward with any of this reparations. So should we receive reparations? Yes. In what form do I believe? I believe that you need to do just like the Chinese did. They just was able and made to acquire an economic empowerment. I believe just like the Latinos, we need to have the Latino coalition. But what has happened under this administration with the Blacks who have access to the president, they do this thing called diversification and coalition with other cultures. I don't give a rat's ass about other cultures. I care about the African American community. And right now, there's no one in the White House that are really focusing primarily on Black people. They're all about this inclusiveness. Well, I live in an inclusive state, and I can tell you this inclusiveness doesn't work in a state that is basically segregated by other cultures who come here and make us the last thing on the totem pole. I got Black men and Black women are homeless and families on the street. Ain't nobody caring about that. Everybody want their photo op and their chicken dinner, but they ain't putting themselves out on the street. Put your ass out on the street and start dealing with the people. Urban Game Changers, August the 21st through August the 25th. Go to urbangamechangersconference.com. urbangamechangersconference.com. See some of our speakers. We have YouTube followers and YouTube viewers combined together over 5 million subscribers. So we reach hundreds and thousands of people. We are in 15 different states with executive officers on the ground. So it's a combination of social media, but activism. It's one thing to say you're active, but it's one thing to implement it and be part of it.
Hey, and before you go again, Art, let me say again, for the anti-ADOS crowd, I understand you have an opinion and you have a voice. Love it, because that's what we all need. I'm not dissing you, but I need for you to use that same energy when the Polish people, the Chinese people, all these other people do what they do. I need for you to have the courage to go over to those spaces and say, hey, I said this to the Black community. I'm going to say to y'all, pull yourself up by your Italian bootstraps. I'm going to say to you Chinese people, stop coming over here. We repealed the 1950 law. We finally let you Chinese people have some land. but y'all not even doing it the right way. I, as a black person, I normally speak in the black area. I'm finna come over here to you Chinese and tell y'all, stop doing this type of stuff. Start having courage as far as policy is concerned. If you're against this policy, don't only be against this policy because it's a black issue.
I totally agree with that. Can I add one more thing?
Okay.
And keep in mind that this president, meaning President Trump, has already allocated money to other cultures. When people say, oh, no, that's not true. I say, oh, no, of course it's true. Look at the economic empowerment that he did specifically for our Chinese and the Pacific Islanders. Look what he did for the people in Alaska, where he did the Missing Children Girls Day. All this was done in May, where they were able to get $300 million for 2 years for their culture of people. Because they went to him with a proposal and legislation that T. West had said and research had said, we don't do that. What we do is we have these black people who are right now have access to the president of the United States, and they talk about this inclusiveness and how happy they are to get a chicken dinner and a photo op. They don't go in with policies. They're not a businessman. This is a businessman. This ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. Now, if you want to see Jesus, know him in your heart. Ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus said, God bless those who help themselves. Help yourself to some legislation and understanding law and government and what rights you have.
Miss Shirley, let me ask you a question. How can we help you get, because it sounds like there's a disconnect between a message that you think works and the White House and the president. Is there some sort of aligning to where you have something set up? Do you need something set up? Is there something to where you can't get this message to the president?
I think what we're doing right now is research. T. West, I hope maybe Mark might come on board. Who else is on board? We have Phil from the Advice Show, Sonny Johnson, Sirius Radio, Breitbart. You will see that if you go to Urban Game Changers Conference. What I need is not about me. It's not about Shirley. Shirley is a real estate developer and an activist, and God has blessed me, and I'm very grateful. But this takes a lot of energy and time. And what I'm learning is that because of that disconnect, there's walls. And all we can do is write and interact with each other and get real messages out to our own people. And then let God do his justice. But if you come to Virginia, which I would be honored, King, for you to come, and let's sit and let's talk this through. Let's do what research said and what T. West said. We have to have some form of, here's our legislation. Because like I told you, Trump had this thing called the New Deal, which was beautiful. And then Omarosa fucked it up, excuse me for cursing, with the Congressional Black Caucus. And then they came in with their agenda. And then when he said, let's talk it over again, they said, no, we don't want anything. So we have always had the Congressional Black Caucus speak for us. But that's the failure on the Black conservative side, that old school who's in Washington, who've been there for years, who didn't create an opposite to the CBC. So when that got lost in the muddle, then all of a sudden the Canastons and all those people popped up. So I'm excited that people had a chance to meet the presidency and the president. But for those of us who have been in policy for a long time, we know it takes more than that. It takes a legislation and a policy of our own merit to present. But first we have to agree. And first we have to calm ourselves down and have a collaboration of ideas to put on the paper.
Well, I do know that the anti-blacks are supposed to be going over to China to ask for that money that Mitch McConnell gave. So all that money that Mitch McConnell gave, I know there's about 15 anti-blacks going over there to do a speaking engagement on TV. Because like I said, it's about policy. It's not about black. So they're going to leave our black space and they're going to go over and say, hey, Mitch McConnell, all that money you approve and your wife and her cousins being in the having that a shipping container with all that cocaine in it.
Okay.
We anti-blacks. We ain't gonna hide over here with the black people no more. We coming at you, Mitch McConnell, because the money you gave China isn't fair. So look forward to seeing the anti-blacks. They'll be doing a televised thing, about 15 of them. And
let me say this: y'all think me and research be joking and be playing around? We telling you it's raw and real. I mean, politics are a game. And right now, what we see in the White House, they love young blood, but the older blood would love to work with the younger blood. I think all blacks, no matter what generation you're part of, we all should sit together as intellects and have a conversation versus attacking each other and trying to put others upon pedestals. There were other people way before Candace on. There was Sonny Johnson. Oh my God, there's Stacey Washington. If you don't know Stacey Washington, she's fabulous. There's Crystal Wright. If you haven't looked up Crystal Wright, please look her up. There's Baba Holden up in Chicago. I can go on and on of these conservative women that I've known for 10 and 20 years who are Republican women who really have such passion and heart for the presidency, but for family. I prefer to see a woman who leads, who have children, who has a family, who understand that we need to bring the Black perspective of the family back. I don't like emasculated Black men. I think Hollywood is good at promoting that. Every time you look up, they got some flame up there promoting whatever they want. I don't care for flames. I don't care if they are conservative. Either flame your way somewhere else.
So, Sister Shirley,
I like that strong Black chocolate alpha brother that can represent us well.
Sister Shirley, save that for part 2. Okay, I know you got a lot to share. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up and just make a few announcements too. Now, I hope people enjoy the one with the Mark. We found out your side is echoing. Mark, it's yours. There you go. I'm sure that people enjoy this. You know, you had some people that really opposed a lot of things that they felt that the right or Republicans or conservatives stood for. But I have a feeling that after hearing you guys tonight, I think they have a little bit of an open mindedness about, you know, what you represent. And I want to have a part 2 with this as well. And also, I plan on doing one for the left, you know, Black liberal Democrats and things like that, and ask them, you know, not the same questions, but certain questions that people have as well. So
they're going to be arguing. I'm telling you right now, they're not as polite as conservatives. You're going to get a bunch of arguing. But go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a shot. But I want to give them the fairness of, you know, saying, you know, things that represents them and what have you, and then hopefully after those two things have been worked out between the right and the left, then maybe we can put some of those people on the same panel and talk about things that we can do together. That would be that's my goal. I know people have tried it and things like that, but I'm going to try it my way and see what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself here, and I hope I didn't waste any time or anything.
Well, one more thing before you go, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Miss Shirley, just to piggyback off of what you were saying earlier, I do know that there's a heavy influx of gentlemen and females of kind of like what you say, the fresh blood that are looking for mentorship. And it goes both ways. So what we're seeing a lot of is a lot of the establishment, right, being kind of in a mode of, well, we don't want to deal with this fresh blood because they're not really of us. And then the fresh blood kind of being like, well, they've been here a long time and nothing's really got done. So you have a middle ground of people who are basically like, look, you know, they're about policy, they're about getting stuff done. They know the channels. We're more of the faces in the gutter and whatever. And I think what you said was imperative. We've got to find a way to put the whole thing together. And I think once we put that vehicle together, that it'll be unstoppable. I've been reached out to by all kinds of organizations, including the Frederick Douglass organization, because they're seeing that there's benefits to be had by having the kind of fresh blood fighter, go-getter to go against these people, because you're dealing against an element of people who, with one tweet from Beyonce, can get almost an entire state of Texas to try to go vote for Beto. You have to start dealing. We have to use different tactics, in other words, you know, so we have to kind of come together. And I feel with established women like yourself, fresh blood as well, that this movement could be unstoppable. We just have to put it together.
So you guys are killing. You guys are killing. Hey, wait. You guys are killing my part 2. We're supposed to put all this stuff for part 2.
Well, you know what? I'm willing to work with this young man. I have a young man who probably his age or a little bit older. I have 3 sons who are heavily into technology. I won't go into all that, but I will say this: there's not too many. This is a small circle, like Mark said, and all these up and coming people. You know, Frederick Douglass Foundation is amazing. There's different Frederick Douglass. There's the There's Carl K. Smith. He has something. I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, that you're talking about. Oh my God, the other brother. I don't know why he's blanking on him, but the one who's out in Washington D.C. All of those people are amazing. I think you're safe with them. I think you're safe with Star Parker. I think you're safe with her. Alba Keen. I think you're safe with her. They're different in the sense of this. They focus on Star Parker is about abortion. You ain't gonna, no one can do Star better than Star. When she talks about reproduction, abortion, Planned Parenthood, I get it. Her and Albert King and a lot of the ministers on that one. When it comes to the Frederick Douglass, kind of the simulation with God and Christ and politics, a little bit, and of course the foundation of Frederick Douglass. Urban Game Changers is where we go into urban communities and we hold elected officials accountable as well as ourselves. It is foremost about accountability. We've pivoted a little bit because this is the 400th year of African American descendants of slaves. And President Trump signed a commission to commemorate and remember that. So this is why we're having this event. Now, in saying all of that, I've always been open and just to be talked to. If you email or reach out to me, I have no problem with that. The difference I have maybe that we might have is I don't like how people put Candace Owen up there like she's the only one and there's never been anybody else. And that has to do with white conservatives picking and choosing who they want to glorify. I think it's unfair to the Stacey Washington.
Shirley.
I think it's unfair to all the other women who came prior. That's all.
My lovely sister Shirley, we're trying to end this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know you kept me on.
You going on? We going on? I'm like, let me sleep.
We could do that on the next one. We can pack that on the next one.
And you know what's crazy? You probably going to say, I don't remember what I said last time. I'm like, no, like we just lost the fire. No, but I appreciate you guys for coming through. And I definitely want to do this again. I mean, most definitely. I really hope you guys come back for part 2. And again, I was mentioning too, I'm doing the liberal side as well, and then try to do a combination of coming to a consensus. So there's a method in my madness. I need your help. You know, all the people that's been there, done that, the young and creative minds, the new ideals. I need all hands on deck. I'd like to give a shout out to Kels. She really helped me put this together. She was the one that brought Derek up here. You know, I really appreciate her. Also, we're supposed to have one of the emeritus of the Black Panther Party come through. Not on your panel. Ooh, no. But but on some other interviews. So anyhow, without that being said, I would like you guys to say your last words. Please keep it brief. I know you're running for office and everything. No, I'm joking. Keep it brief, and we'll schedule another time for you guys to come back. And did you guys like the format, or do you want me to do some tweaking?
No. Leave it as is. I think it was pretty good. We didn't feel like we were getting bombarded.
Okay. So I want to go down the list, Brother Afro Synergy. Just let us know, some things that you want to close out on. Let us know anything that's coming up that you want us to, about. Tell us about your channel and everything. So let's go.
Well, I just once again, Afro Synergy News out on YouTube, also on Facebook. And I want to say that this was an excellent program, an excellent layout, excellent questions. I really like that. It flowed very well. So I really, really appreciate that. And finally, I'd like to say that, and Shirley will mention it, don't forget next month, there's going to be that event, that conference in West Virginia. So myself, Shirley, and others will be there, and we're going to be talking about some of the details that pertains to reparations, and we're going to be prepared with a prepared rough draft of legislation that relates to reparations. So don't miss that. Let others know about that. So thank you very much. You're a great host.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you and your presence. Thank you. I humbly appreciate it. Thank you. Brother BMT.
Yeah. First off, I want to give a shout out to all those who supported this crew and pretty much all the conservatives that we have here. It's good to actually get to see us. I actually get to be on a panel and not get called coon for once. So This was pretty good
Oh,
for
you
once.
said it. Oh, I was hoping we get through the day.
It feels good not being called that on a panel for once, man. Like that just But
Okay.
we're doing good. I think a lot of us we like to keep quiet and move, behind the scenes, and we care about our community. Like I think we go hard and self-sacrificing, and I ask us now that we see that the school year is picking up for families and children and communities. Our work is going to be pretty busy, and I think we're going to be more so vigilant, especially with the reparation talk that's coming on the table. I'm hoping that we can get to do this more often and actually get to talk to our brothers who are independent and liberal, and actually, but we don't hate nobody. We just want to work and actually all get to a common goal of, hey, our people should be able to sit down and eat and be productive people out there in the world. So this is very good. I'm very thankful that we have this going on right here, Art. So you definitely did something that very few people can do. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Okay, brother Derek.
Okay, so yes, I really enjoyed this. I kind of called in the last minute. I wasn't even really expecting. Kels had hit me up, and I was like, sure, that sounds like real cool. But this turned out to be real great. It's a blessing. As far as me, like I said, I'm coming from DC last week. Was a guest at Clarence Henderson at the president's 4th of July event, and I can tell you honestly, I'm seeing this president do great things, and I know a lot of people like to go down the rabbit hole, conspiracy theories, whatnot. I can tell you again, reiterate that this president will do for Black people. All we have to do is present it and get it there. And a lot of people say, well, what's different? There's a lot of people who believe that other presidents before this, it was part of their agenda to make sure that Black people only got so far, and then the plug was pulled at a certain point. If that meant eliminating somebody, if that meant eliminating progress, if that meant oops, accident, so be it. I can tell you right now that it appears that this president, all you've got to do is get your stuff to him. That's why when I hear Shirley say that, I'm like, look, man, well, whatever we got to get, let's find a way to get it there. Whoever else, let's find a way to get it there. Because if it gets there and it looks good, I think it'll push through. So for me, like I said, next week, I'll be in Miami working on some stuff in Miami, and then some other, other stuff going on. But I look forward to seeing all of y'all and working with y'all, because this is a small circle, a very small circle. And this is a legacy move for, I think, everyone involved. For me, a lot of people talk about money and people are talking about doing this. For me, this is about legacy for me. This is about doing something that can be remembered. And, I never was in the military and I never was a police officer, but I feel like this is my duty to my country right now during this moment in time with President Trump to try to push this Black agenda that I think it was Ms. Shirley or someone else had mentioned earlier, that has been conveniently usurped by this strange LGBT and strange feminist movement that has been pumped to take all of the work that Black people have done and replace it. So I believe we have a duty right now to stand up. And another thing I want to mention, we have to, for those of us who are, like I said, established or whatever, you have to understand the power of social media. You have to understand the power of, if you want to add me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I was banned from Twitter. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook under Derek Gradenigo. That's Gradenigo, Gradenigo. The power that comes with that, we can get our messages out. We can create that buzz we need when certain people pop up. And, I think I have up to 60,000 people now across Facebook and Instagram. A message alone can travel mountains, so we have to use those advantages. And be prepared to do as such. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. And before this gentleman speaks, his name is Mark Isles. We're in the same fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That is my big brother. And you should see how he represents himself around us. Is wow. This dude walks around with majesty. And that's when I start understanding how a person can do this in an all black section. And so many people respect him, but yet he has a different view than a lot of, a lot of the, people around, but yet he gets the utmost respect from all of us. So that's why, when people talk about conservative and Republican or whatever, I still welcome some things because he showed me how you can still conduct yourself as a black man and still have these views. So I just like to introduce that to him. I mean, introduce you guys about him before he speaks. Go ahead, Mr. Mark.
Art, as I now know you, I appreciate those comments. You are absolutely correct. One of my claim to fames, and I love to brag about, is I say it all the time. My enemies respect me more than my friends do, and that's absolutely true. And I do carry that as a badge of courage. So I appreciate you outlining that. But thanks for the invitation. It's very rare that I get invited to be a part of anything, and very, very rare that I get invited back after I speak. And that's even amongst Republicans, because I refuse to address any microphone in a Republican setting without pointing out the fact that the Republican Party has done very, very little in terms of embracing Black people and paving a road of inclusiveness. We have had to bulldoze our way in. And although I'm okay with the bulldozer, the truth of the matter is that we should never have needed a bulldozer. We should have just needed a van to load up people and just bring them. And it's time for the Republican Party to shift. It's time for a shift. The demographics in America have shifted. They will not change. They will not change in our lifetime. They will not change in my grandson's lifetime. The fact of the matter is in California, the Republican Party is completely, totally insignificant. Why? Because of stubbornness, because of stupidity, and because of stubbornness. And a refusal to create a place in the party for minds and individuals like myself, like Shirley, and like others in California that could represent intelligently, articulately, a point of view that would speak to the center of America. And until that happens, we got work to do. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Research? Is he really gone?
No,
Oh,
I stuck around. I wanted to see how it played out. You know what? I'll say this, man. And I say this very seriously. There's a lot of people that look like us that don't want us to win. There's a lot of people whose sole goal is to do what a lot of Indian people have done, a lot of Dominican, is use that black skin, pretend to be black, come into our spaces and talk anti-black. My whole thing is, like I said, there will be some anti-blacks going over to China telling them to get the money back. They're not going to do it because that's not black people that they're attacking. If you're going to be about something against policy, have the knowledge about the policy and be universal in how you approach your dislike of it. But the minute somebody starts speaking for black sons and daughters, don't say, well, you got to be 6 foot high. You got to be this. Stop putting all these restrictions just because you're black. Go to Chinese and make the same statement. That's how we know you're about policy and you're just not about what black folks should be doing. The other thing is, for people who are for other things, you guys and liberals, Democrats, y'all got to get more research on the stuff y'all say. You know, you might not like Republicans. Some of these people might be racist, whatever the case may be, but you need to be able to mentally compete. You need to be able to do more than get a speech or get mad when a conversation don't go your way, or Art, how does that make sense? For is not spelled F-O-R. For is spelled F-O-U-R. Sometimes you guys say things that make you feel as if you're not part of the conversation, but y'all gotta go research more. You gotta go get at your situation more so that you can come in these spaces and not only give your opinion, but be correct in the information that you provide. There's a lot of things going on in your city. Forget Obama, forget Republican, forget Democrat. What's going on in your city you don't like? They put a bike lane in front of your house. You didn't like it, but you let it happen. They granted all these building permits. You didn't like it, but you let it happen. You guys got to do more than just talk. And here's my final thing. As you notice, I've been doing stuff about the manosphere recently. I'm gonna say simply like this: Black YouTubers, Shirley, myself, Afro Synergy, we're leaving out from the safety of YouTube and chat rooms, and we're going to where our opinions really matter in front of these cameras, around these news journalists, and we're making some valid points. We're ready to compete with our information and not just make speeches against Black folks. We got to stop falling in love with these videos about attacking each other. We got to start falling in love with these conversations where we're telling lies to the community. Black marriages have doubled since 2008, but you'll get 3 popular YouTubers that say Black marriage is going down. We are the most Ku Klux Klan talking people on YouTube I have ever seen, and it's ridiculous. We got to get better than that. And if not for ourselves, for your great grandchildren. Because if not, your great grandchildren going to be like, what the hell was y'all doing all that time? It wasn't the dope days. Ronald Reagan wasn't in charge. It wasn't like it was 1986. It was 2019. And y'all still was talking about dating? It's ridiculous. So those are my last things I say, man. Get involved locally. Hate me if you want to, but that's real talk. Get involved locally and change your grandchildren's lives. A lot of you guys are dying and not leaving nothing to your grandkids. So hey, you're gonna be screaming Pakistani supremacy in a minute. That's the last thing I gotta say.
So before Shirley goes, I just like to give a shout out to Sister Shirley because I met Sister Shirley through Mr. Research. We were on the same panel, and I called and told her about this panel. She just right away just very attentive, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. And when I was formulating the questions, I mean, she helped me to shape them out. Kale's helped me as well. So I'm just trying to let people know I'm not trying to hide anything or whatever. I mean, or take all the credit or whatever. Credit needs to be given where it's due. Along with Sister Char Willie out there, if she's still out there, she's always supporting me. So I would like to give Shirley the last word so we can be out.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. God bless you. For every action is a reaction, and for every non-action is the aftermath. We're living the aftermath of Jim Crow. We're living the aftermath of the civil rights movement that has been manipulated by the left, by the liberal progressives, by the gays, by the LGBT, by the transgenders. We're living the aftermath of bad policies of Lyndon B. Johnson. We're living the aftermath of us failing to communicate with each other and not attack each other. From out of our parties, from within our parties, from generations, from the older to the newer. I think all that needs to be set aside. Here is an opportunity, and it doesn't come that often. And for those of us, especially the one, I think the person I've known the longest is the Mark. I love Mark. Mark Isles, I can tell you, is one of the most strongest, beautifulest man I've ever met as far as policies and loving who he is and knows what he wants. And I mean, I've known Research and T West for a short time, but I'm telling you, these men are like pure alpha chocolate. I mean, you can just suck these men up and have a good latte on them. They know what they're doing. They are very confident brothers. Many of you guys need mentors. Reach out to these men. Reach out to this beautiful brother Art, who opened up his forum for all of us, and even that young brother who came on board, who's part of Turning Point and what he's trying to do. Because, a lot of us, we don't get paid for any of this. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts. We do this because we have passion for the embetterment of our people. And right now we live in a very subdivided, segregated country. And for those of us who are on the West Coast in Los Angeles, we can tell you they are putting other cultures of people ahead of us. Every night you sleep, there's Black people in LA who are homeless on the street. Black people who are being put out of their house and apartment for an illegal immigrant who comes here and pushes their children across the border. Well, we have our children in the trash can because of Planned Parenthood, who took the time to filtrate themselves in urban communities, partly because we've said nothing. So a lot of things that are upon us is because we said nothing. August the 21st to the 25th. Please write this down. Urban Game Changers Conference. I'm going to put up some free tickets because I know a lot of people are saying, hey, I want to come. I'm having problems with money. I've just got a major sponsor who says, hey, look, I'll cover some tickets for some people. So I'm going to change the site so we can get some free people in that room. We've got some great speakers. Like the brother said, social media is key. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Look up Shirley Husar. We have Urban Game Changers in 15 different states. Urban Game Changers, Texas, Urban Game Changers, Alabama, Arkansas. Look up the states. See if your state is there. And if not, Urban Game Changer California is always a platform to be upon. I am easy to be reached. You can email me at shirleyhusar@gmail.com or info urbangamechanger.com. We are willing to have conversation, intellectual conversation, not buffoonery. Call somebody else because you'll get Shaniqua and I hang up and curse your ass out. I ain't got time for that. But if you want to have a good conversation about reality, feel free to follow me on Instagram. Message me if you want to talk anytime. I'm here to answer questions so someone doesn't make you feel stupid or dumb or intimidated or I don't know if I should ask that question. I don't want you to feel that way. There's no right or wrong in any of this. I think that we all can learn and grow from each other. There's no king or queen in any of this. It's just about moving through the motions and setting aside that there's a bigger picture, and that is the need of a nation of people that are dying, who are hurting, which are our own people. And if we can't love each other, who else can we love?
Okay. All right. So without any ado, we're going to end this session here and, look forward to the next one. Mr. T. West, I would like to talk to you later on too, if you have a little time. But it's so many people, I can't really acknowledge everybody in the chat. That's how much success we had, because we'd be here all day. But yeah, well, I'm looking forward to having the part 2. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask everyone when is their available time so we can schedule it. And try not to have it too far along because we want to keep this on our mind and keep it buzzing and just keep it flowing. So without any further ado, thank everybody for coming through. I appreciate it in the chat and in the panel. Thank you very much. Take care.